halfway decent Connecticut team. Not a great Connecticut team, but a halfway decent one.
There, we are recording now, and I'm just going to make this live.
All right. Oh, God. Goddamn COVID's going to kill me, I'm telling you.
All right. We are going to go live.
All right.
A few minutes late.
Yeah, well, you know, it's always ish. I know.
So slow this morning.
I don't get notified of this shit. Oh, there we are. Okay.
We're now.
Yeah, well, you know, it's always. All right, now I got to turn my volume down. I can hear you.
Good job turning your volume down.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the confidence, Mayor. I thank you so much. Coming in hot right off the friggin' bat.
Well, you in technology this morning was.
Me and techno. Oh, okay. You know what? Why would they have it set at? Why would you have a 1.5 speed? Who the fuck would listen to that? Unless you're filming cartoons.
I don't know. Hey, Jim. Hey, Wayne. Hey, Roger.
Right. But that makes no sense, though. Why would they do that? Because honest to God, Mary, I thought that there was something fucked up and we were going to sound like cartoon characters the entire goddamn one. That's what I thought.
Well, I was listening to it. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what did I do with this recording last night?
I thought you broke it, Mary.
And then I went and I'm like, fucker. Hey, Tim. Hey, Evan.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to
Browns. Go Patriots. Not the other night, but go Packers.
It's all right. The Pats taking the air off Browns. Hey, Browns aren't too bad, Mary.
Even though they're not playing, go Michigan.
Michigan would have beaten them today. Yep, go Army.
Yeah.
It's always go Army. So, nothing against the Navy, but I've always liked Army. West Point's a cool place.
Hey, Allie B. Good morning.
Yeah. Saw her a couple of minutes late, but I had to do my hair this morning.
Oh, you fucker. Yeah, the last message I sent Darren. So I woke up at 5 this morning with a fucking migraine. So I felt like I'm dying for a little bit. And it was a little bit, just whatever. Anyway, so a little bit better now, but my last message to him was I have to go do my hair and makeup and then I'll send you the Zoom invite. And I just get this LOL.
I'll be running along. I have to do my hair for a goddamn Zoom meeting, Facebook Live. Oh my goodness gracious. Look at this. She's gone from fangirl to Cleopatra overnight, but hey, whatever. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. As long as you're happy with it, Mary. As long as you're happy with it. But hey, Jim.
Good morning,
everybody. Hey, Raj. Yep, go Army. Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to tell you something right now. Michigan would have beaten Ohio State today. You know why? Because it's 2020, and just because
exactly everything is fucked right now. So yeah,
Harbaugh is a complete train wreck and probably the worst coach in all of the country, in my opinion. But I bet you they would have won today just because.
Yeah, just because it's 2020.
Yeah.
Allie B, your guys' names are A+ today. Thank you. Yeah. Undulations, S. Grant and Georgia Meade. And I had the feminized form. I feminized another general's name in our podcast on Tuesday night. I called myself Olivia O. Howard.
Oh yeah. You like Howard. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I do. I took a lot of shit over Howard this week.
Yeah, you certainly did. You certainly did.
Yep.
But yeah, going to be jumping on so quick. Hey, Allie Biddles. Paul, what's going on, everybody?
Good morning, John.
Roger, hope you're doing well over there in America's cesspool of Ohio, but that's okay. I'm glad to see he's doing well. Anyway, I'm sorry. Is that allowed? Oh, God. I know. It's all good. It's all good. So anyway, good morning to you.
Good morning.
The Dairy Queen of Kincardine. And I definitely enjoyed the podcast. That was fun doing Fredericksburg. It was definitely a good reminder of what a train wreck Burnside was.
Oh God, he was, and he is like he's like Hood in that regard, where I think he has a good performance, like the lower levels, right? But when you put somebody like that in command, they completely balk. And whatever his issue was, him telling Sumner like, no, I can't risk losing men with your plan to cross the river. And then 2 days later, he's like, or like, what is it? 3 weeks later, he's like, fucking go up and take Marye's Heights. Whatever. Well,
that's the thing that makes no sense about it. It's like, you wonder what the story was with him, because like you just said, he really flipped at a full 180 on that, because it's, I don't know. I mean, it's funny, and we were talking about this. I don't know if it was, I think it was offline, how you kind of have to put it a little bit on Lincoln though. Because at some point he has to sit there and say, fuck no, this is what you have to do. I put you in charge for a reason. Yeah. And he still, but they were still trying to thinking capture cities was going to be the war at that point. And still, even when he had his plan to take Fredericksburg, he had that 5 or 6 day window where he still could have gotten Longstreet, and he still
Yep.
waited. And it wasn't all the pontoons. Yes, that's what happens.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all that. It wasn't just the pontoons. But whatever. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, you have these men, and like Sumner and Hooker had sound plans, and for whatever reason, Burnside doesn't want to listen to them, and it's like he was, it described like being in a fog, I think, and I just like that plan Sumner had would have worked. I think Hooker's plan would have worked, even though they have to march. Like they still would have got ahead of Lee getting to Fredericksburg. But I can't imagine being Sumner, being Franklin, and being Hooker, and having to sit and watch the shit show like happen, knowing that you're going to lose all your men. And I mean, Howard writes about it in his memoirs, just how sad he's sad for what he knows will happen in this battle.
yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, and this is like I think we said in the podcast. God, it all blends after a while, but of what a good job the Gods and Generals movies did at the Fredericksburg scene, because they were. I mean, they should have made that movie with just the Battle of Fredericksburg and dropped it at that point, because then it'd be like Gettysburg, but it'd be good without the 26 minutes of marching. But but I think but that's the scene of the city fighting, which is the first in American history as far as that goes. And it really, it's funny watching these guys learn, like Longstreet, how, what his experiences he would have had later on at Chickamauga, and then of course at Gettysburg with the attacking. And he even mentions it in Gettysburg. He says, this is Fredericksburg in reverse, and Lee was fucking.
And then he goes in Chickamauga and basically does the same thing. He's the one on, doing the charges against the Rock. But I mean, now mind you,
the Rock of Plymouth.
Yeah, the Rock of Plymouth.
You're never living that down. You are never living that down. That was so funny.
We'll go visit Plymouth someday, and that's all you'll talk about.
Like, that's going to be it. That and Scarputic soldiers on, that
hey,
whole
Allie
thing.
Kay. Hey, Liza. Hey, Phil. Hey, Barbara.
Hey, Barbara. John Brown was from Ohio.
Kinda.
Okay.
And actually, like, even Phil Sheridan being from Ohio is actually debated. He's got like 3 different birth stories. One is that he was born on a ship when his parents were coming over from Ireland. The other is he was born in New York State, and the other is he was born in Ohio.
I mean, okay, that's fine. That's fine. That sounds fine.
What?
I said that's fine. He can be born wherever he wants. What?
I know Tim commented that Sheridan was from Ohio, which is like, that's probably where he was born, but it is also debated too. It's an interesting story. Sheridan's background, his childhood is like.
Hey, there were some good people born in Ohio. There's no doubt about it. But you know what? For everyone, there's, I don't know, I'm not going to go down Ohio Road. But all I'm going to say is Michigan would have won today. Tim, sorry, they would have. But it's okay. That's blue. Okay. Definitely. Yeah, go blue. Hail, But no, I think, but that was a fun podcast to do, though, because, there's a lot of stuff. We talked a lot about Burnside's story. I love that marriage story.
Oh, that was hilarious. And how she's like engaged to 16 different Confederate officers.
They don't call it a Lottie for nothing, Talk about the Bang Barn, huh? You need a whole plantation for her.
A plantation.
You need more than just a barn,
Allie B. Sheridan is like, I am born everywhere.
It was ubiquitous. That's almost like undulation. One of those 4-syllable words, Mayor.
Wow, yeah, I have trouble with those.
You said Massachusetts very well in that podcast,
did, Massachusetts.
See, now you fuck it up. Whatever.
But the funny thing about Sheridan is Allie's comment reminded me of when I saw his grave at Arlington, and all it says on it in huge letters is just Sheridan. There's nothing else. No birth, like no years, nothing. Just Sheridan.
Well, we've said before, mine is just going to be a symbol.
The half moon in a beer can?
Half moon in a beer can. That's
the
my
artist
symbol.
Formerly known as Darren.
No, I've said before, my gravestone is going to have my name. It's going to say killed at Gettysburg. And then it's going to have underneath it, was capable of so much more. That's what I'm going to have on mine. And I want a guy dressed up as Death at my wake, standing there, just pointing at people. Next. But it's so funny. Yeah, Sharon was the first Madonna. Hey, so I don't know if I told you this, but I'll be going to my usual boys trip to Gettysburg in August. We're going to go to We're going to go to Washington D.C. the night before, and so I'm gonna go to the cemetery. I'm gonna go see our boys. I'm gonna see Doubleday, go see Sickles, go see Sheridan, go see Gibbon.
Yeah, Gibbon's right next to Sheridan.
Yeah, so we'll see. Probably do some cigar pictures to look forward to in that one.
Nice. I'm looking forward to going to Washington again once the Cracker Line is reopened, which hopefully will be soon.
Karaoke at Mary Surratt's, Mary.
Yep, that's what we're
Karaoke.
doing.
Karaoke. Call me maybe.
Weeks and Fincher karaoke. That'll be yikes.
That'll be end of the internet right there.
Yeah. Break
So
the internet.
yes. So I like the podcast. I mean, it's funny though how you got to kind of go back again, trying to think about the reasoning behind Lincoln putting Burnside anyway. And the thing that you can't let Lincoln off the hook is he offered him the job 3 times, right?
Yep.
Until he finally took it. So, and I think we've said before that Hooker probably would have been the better choice.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
there were
discussion at the end of the podcast about like there was times when Lincoln would do something to see how somebody would react. So for instance, he gave McClellan a chance to redeem himself and McClellan didn't. You know, so here's Lincoln offering the job to Burnside. Burnside's turning it down, and then he basically orders him, but then says, okay, if you don't take it, you know, Hooker will. Well, I don't think Lincoln realized how much Burnside and Hooker hated each other, but I'm wondering if that was kind of Lincoln's way of trying to get Burnside to finally, like, his last chance, say, okay, I'll let him say no one more time, and then Hooker can have the command. But also,
who was
what pressure's being put on him.
who were his real choices though? He had Hooker, right? He had Sumner probably, who was 65 years old and he was older.
Franklin.
You had William Franklin. That was really his 3 choices, really. And of course, Burnside. So you really had 4 choices. He picked the worst of the 4.
Mm-hmm.
He picked Dorn. He was the guy who would have picked on that old game show.
Yeah.
He would have picked the door you open up and there would have been a cow in there and he would have lost.
Exactly.
Right? What was that? Let's make a deal.
Yeah,
right?
Something like that. Let's see what's behind door number 1.
Lincoln would have sucked at that. You know why? Because probably he would have been drinking. I'm going back to your rail splitter today, Mary, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
We got to hope that
Pasta don't like to have fun.
You need to send the pasta weight bat signal out so we can talk to him about that.
I know.
He held his own. I gotta give him props on that one. He was swinging from the fences on that one.
But
fucking people.
Like, people are on Rail Splitter are a lot like our listeners too. Like, we're on there to learn, but just have a good time. I mean, I once bought a beer because Abraham Lincoln was on it, which is hilarious. And then some people were like, that's offensive. I'm like, how is this offensive? It's fun. Lincoln would have been happy with this.
I don't know what would be offensive. How the hell do you know it would have been offensive, for God's sakes?
I know. This is Abraham Lincoln we're talking about.
I mean, how many kids did Lincoln have?
4.
Okay, Mary Todd's wife. Yeah, he was drinking. Trust me.
God.
He was drinking. Prove. Follow me for more recipes, Mary. I'm telling you right now. He was on. There was no doubt, but I think it is kind of funny how people take it very, very serious, and we take this serious. You don't get us wrong, we do.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think you have to when you look at the people and personify some of the people, you realize that they're people. They're regular people. You know, I mean, they're not immortals like you or I, Mary. These are regular people. Right?
Good morning, Ryan.
LED
Lincoln rolling over in his grave from all that merch that had his face on it. Yeah, he probably would have been a little mortified by that, but then he probably would have been like, whatever.
I have a t-shirt, Mary. I'm sorry. I saw someone with a t-shirt. A friend of mine has a t-shirt where he's got a girl over his shoulder. He's spanking her. Right. So, so someone gave that as a gift. And I don't know if that had happened or not. Okay. But I think it probably did. So we should go with it. But I think it's funny. There's so much merch with his face, with his stuff on it, that it's kind of funny. And you know what? Look, no one's being disrespectful. It's just, you know what? Have fun with it. For God's sake.
Well, I mean, look at my phone case.
Oh, look at that. You got a picture of me on there.
Yeah, I do.
But,
with tattoos.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, you know what? There's so much serious shit in the world right now. So much misery and crap. Have some, lighten the fuck up a little bit, people. For God's sakes, that guy, you know?
Exactly. Well, it's like getting back to your point about when you look at these guys and study them, you realize that they have senses of humor. They have their faults and all that. Like, the one thing I realized from really reading a lot of Howard's memoirs for this episode was the guy was like, he was probably the guy that sat there in silence, but then every so often he would drop this one-liner that probably made everybody in the room laugh. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
I think he was deeply sorry. Like, I think he had quite the sense of humor on him, judging from that comment he made where he's like, this should have just taken 3 days and it took 13. And it's like, you're giving it charity if you think this didn't have meddling in it, kind of thing, you know?
I mean, you know what? I think and Jim mentions the Ethan Allen story from the
Yeah.
movie, but you know what though? Couldn't you imagine? He would have had. I mean, think about it. He would have. I mean, we saw all seen the pictures of Lincoln throughout the war. He gets more emaciated. He looks
Yeah.
like he's got 100 years. He had to have found a way to lighten himself up. I mean, come on. I mean,
He did. He said if he didn't laugh, he would cry. And he used
yeah.
humor as like kind of a coping mechanism because he did suffer from depression. And like you're going through a war. It's like you can't tell me that those generals also were serious all the time. There's zero way of that because you just got the Patrick Claiborne biography.
I did. Thank you
There's
for the enabling, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. There's
Oh, look forward to reading that one.
There's a really good story in that biography about they had a snowfall in, I think it was, I think it might have been March of 1864. There was this rare snowfall wherever they were. I think it was in Tennessee. And the general's like, Johnston, he organizes a snowball fight. And Claiborne gets involved. He gets taken prisoner by his men, and they had to like put him on trial and stuff. And
oh, I was going to mention the Claiborne book. My book, unlike yours, doesn't have that big fold-out centerfold like yours does of Claiborne. I wonder how.
Really?
No, I don't.
That's too bad. It's too
Yeah,
bad. I'll have to take a picture and send it to you so you have.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't get that one.
Hey, Jonathan.
So.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, Jonathan. And hey,
Michael,
Ben.
Or Jonathan asked, did Halleck have a sense of humor? No.
Halleck?
Oh,
no.
No.
You know who? There are some guys like Seward. You probably know. I mean, I think you've got to. Who knows? Maybe. I mean, but I think Lincoln certainly. I mean, we know for a fact Lincoln did, and so
he loved to tell stories. He loved to make people laugh. He like to say Lincoln like didn't have a sense of humor. To think he was serious all the time is not right. It's also I do find there are some that they hold Lincoln as almost like a saint, and he's a great guy. He's an amazing president, but he's also human. And I think you're devaluing him to hold him in such high regard as almost like a saint. Because his faults are how he learned, like we all do, right? Like
I guarantee you Lincoln didn't consider himself a saint. I guarantee you that. No. But I mean, I get it. I mean, look, no one's going to say Lincoln's anything but, obviously the greatest president this country will ever have. Yeah. But I mean, just to talk about put him on a certain level and where you can't even insinuate lightening up on him where you get someone that look, whatever. Okay. Look, I was that way with Tom Brady until last year. So I get it. I get the whole thing. Not anymore.
Hey, John. Heckman's here.
Oh, hey, John.
Hey. Jim, Halleck reminds me of Elmer Fudd. Paul, Halleck wrote elements of military art and science and slapstick.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. Well, we said Elmer Fudd. We had talked about how Burnside was the Charlie Brown of the Civil War. Right?
Oh, he absolutely was.
I mean, but you know what though? Charlie Brown had the bad luck thing.
Yeah.
Burnside kind of made his own bad luck, and he did. But I mean, the marriage thing, I can't blame him on that one. No. But the gun thing, when he had that gun and then he sold the patent right before the war and lost, didn't make a nickel. That's the kind of luck I would have, Mayor. That's the kind of luck I would have.
He has bad luck at Antietam too. So not only does McClellan not send him troops, but then there's A.P. Hill showing up across from him saying like, "Hey, fucker, you owe me money."
$8,000, right?
Fucker, where's my money?
I bet you A.P. Hill would be fun to hang with. We talked before about the drinking thing. I don't think we mentioned, but you think about the fact that he left Harper's Ferry to Antietam because he was pissed that McClellan stole his girl. That Stonewall had put him in the doghouse, and the fact that Burnside owed him money. All I could picture is that movie with the paper boy going, "You $2, where's my $2?" That 80s, what the hell it is. But oops, it's not the whole table over. But that he's got his red shirt and he's got his gonorrhea itch going, and he's riding that horse, and he's like, "I'm gonna get these guys." And his soldiers are like, "Wow, look how motivated Ambrose is, how fired up he is. Look at him go. Let's fight. Let's go." And they saved the Confederacy that day out of pure spite.
Because he's all fucking fired up and ready to go.
He was. Well, there's probably the itch. That's why he was fired up. But I mean, but for the most part, though, that's what's funny about history, though, is you look at the behind the stories of these things, and it's just so funny sometimes. It just is.
Allie's got a good comment about the merch. She said, that's the fine line. I think today the merch and stuff is fun, but let's not idolize these guys. Looking at Yuli and Jackson into something they weren't. Yeah, there's the idolization thing. Evan, he said, ideas for later episodes, comedic roasts of generals and Civil War politicians by their contemporaries.
Well, we've kicked in different ideas. We got the Christmas one next week. We'll have some fun with that one, Mary.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Jonathan has a question, and maybe some of our listeners can answer it. Is there a good Burnside biography?
You know what? I don't know. That's a good one. You know, we can talk about that as on our roundtable, Mary, on Wednesday.
Absolutely.
We do the book enabling, right?
Yep.
So we'll look and see if we can find one. I don't know of one of Burnside.
I think he's like Bragg in that regard. Like, there's not much about him, I think. And Howard too is like that. Like, there's no really biography about Howard except his memoirs. And
we've talked about the books we want
Howard,
to read,
but he embellishes.
So someday Heckman and I are going to be doing a Charles Tilden book.
Yeah,
we talked about that.
Yeah.
So I'm serious, John. We're going to do that. We're gonna have some fun with that. But no, but there's a lot of guys at that. But that'd be a good one to read, though. I mean, because it'd be fun to read the spin, because it would have to be somewhat fair and balanced. It'd have to be the good, the bad, and the ugly with him. But I think, well,
that's how all biographies should be. You have to
exactly
the bad and ugly.
Exactly. And there's not a lot of positive with Burnside, I guess. I mean, his mother probably said, "God, shave for God's sakes." He probably even got it from her.
Oh my God!
Solid beer, though. It's have a good beer, again, Mary. Guys, up here.
Jonathan's got something else too. Something else for Wednesday. What are the books not written that we want to read? Yeah, I'm sure we will get to that, but that's a good one too.
So just again, I know this Wednesday at 6 p.m. There, 6, right?
Yeah, 6 to 7 p.m.
6 to 7. We're doing our roundtable, and we are going to talk about books, because everyone likes to talk about books, including us. So we're going to dig some out. So if you're going to be on this, which you hope you do, bring some books, bring some book ideas, and then Amazon will love us all, because we'll probably end up ordering half of midnight.
Jim just said he's got his Black Friday overtime money and he's ready to spend some dough. Jim will probably enable us quite a bit too, and I'm sure Allie B will as well. They are pretty strong with the books. Allie B, my wallet is not prepared for.
Yeah, I'm going to get my home equity line application in today, so hopefully I can close by Wednesday, and
Evan's got a question, actually. Any speculation about the nature of the beef between Burnside and Hooker?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure most of these are personal issues. I haven't read anything specifically beyond maybe just a dick swinging contest about being in charge. I hate to say it, but a lot of it is. That's a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, I think there's probably more to it, and I would like to look into exploring what some of these beefs are between these guys, because some of them are not explained. I mean, AP Hill is understandable,
Well, Hooker was a lightning rod. I mean, he was a big mouth. He was that guy. He was the guy at the bar who would just mouth off.
Yeah.
And typical. I hate to say it, typical Boston guy. He was, but so he probably had a lot of people against him. He was very arrogant. He had a lot of enemies. So it was probably nothing more than that. He was probably just the guy that no one liked. But I'm sure there's a story. I haven't read one. I've actually tried to find that, but I just can't. It's kind of like the those letters we tried to find in Antietam area we couldn't find that day.
What was that?
It's one of those things, like we were trying to find those McClellan letters.
Yeah,
right.
We couldn't find it,
and we just can't find. And I'm sure there's a story behind it. Someone probably knows. Maybe somebody. Maybe I'll go down to the combat zone and ask some of the hookers and see what they know. Maybe I'll do that later.
Go down to the old Bang Barn.
Yeah, I'll go down. I'll go down to the Bang Barn, ask around.
Or the Bang Bridge.
Picked up the penicillin on the way home too.
Bang Bridge. I think just some of these beefs that people had, like Hooker, a lot of people didn't like Hooker for, as you said, he's a lightning rod, he's arrogant, he's the loudmouth. Like when he was traveling out west with Howard and Slocum to go to the Western Theater, apparently he had beefs against them for some reason. Slocum didn't like Hooker, and Howard was just kind of sitting there probably feeling the tension on the train as they went there. And then when they got there, Sherman and Hooker they couldn't stand each other. And there's this one story from the Atlanta campaign where the rebels were launching shells towards them, and they were going up to have a look at where their positioning was. And they're there with their staffs. One by one, the staff just started going, because they're like, guys, this is fucked. We're going to get killed if we stay up here. And they basically, Hooker and Sherman stay up there and play chicken.
A lot of it's ego. A lot of it is bravado. A lot of
Yeah.
it is goes probably back to West Point. You talk about the Jubal Early story with the pie
Yeah.
plate. And all. I mean, there's all this stuff. I mean, but again, I mean, they're all human. They all have their things.
Yeah.
Speaking of humans, Mary, since I'm gonna faint towards Fredericksburg again, try to get this back on topic again, which is a freaking waste of time, but why not? You know who didn't redeem himself very well at Fredericksburg was John Reynolds, in my opinion.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. I mean, we could talk about how, Gettysburg and all that stuff, but he had those issues on Prospect Hill, and it wasn't totally his fault for the most part. But again, he's the one who picked Meade's division,
But Meade's
the smallest
MVP of this battle. Had he had
he,
more
he
men?
is, but you've got Doubleday and Gibbon with both much larger divisions,
Mhm.
and Franklin wanted to send the whole damn family in. He wanted to send everyone in.
Yeah.
And Burnside says no, one division for some, and that was the other thing too, was the game plan was Burnside's going to send one division to Prospect Hill, one division to Marye's Heights, and that's going to scare Robert E. Lee because he's going to leave. And then when he's leaving, then he's going to have the whole 120,000 man army jump on him, attack him on the retreat.
Mhm.
Now listen, I didn't go to West Point's, although I do have a hat. Okay, even I know that plan wasn't going to work.
No.
And you know who else? You know who else knew it wasn't going to work? Everybody.
Exactly. They all knew.
Everybody.
Like they're all there. They're all telling him, dude, this is not a sound plan. It's not going to work. We're going to lose a lot of men. Like you can see that in Howard's memoirs. You can see that in how they are towards Marye's Heights and all that. And like I think Reynolds had good intentions with sending Meade in. He thought, okay, he doesn't have very many men, but his men are good, and I trust his judgment. And the two of them were friends. Like they were very, very good friends. But then Meade goes back for backup because he's broken through Stonewall's line. And it's just like we saw it at Antietam. Eventually you get fatigued. The adrenaline runs out and you get tired, and you can't keep pushing your men. I think had Birney not been such an idiot with his whole like, I only take orders from Reynolds, because by the time he finally gets there, it's too late.
But that wasn't unique to just Fredericksburg. That happened at the Wheatfield in Gettysburg too.
Exactly.
And speaking of Gettysburg, Tim brings up a point about personal interest. I mean, it happened a lot on the Confederate side. I mean, you want to talk about Ambrose Wright on his charge to the Angle on July 2nd, 1863.
Yep.
He was pissed off, that David Lang, his Floridians, bailed. Even though he accused him of not even crossing the Emmitsburg Road, leaving him all by himself, and he went at Richard Anderson, who wasn't even on the battlefield. He was literally at a picnic drinking Madeira. Mary, Madeira, you have Madeira? You have that? Really? Mm-hmm. Anyway, and so there's a lot of personal interest that did affect but that's the way that was, and there are certain guys who are favorite, golden children. There are certain people who weren't.
Definitely. Making things personal was part of the Civil War. You especially see that out in the Western Theater with the Army of Tennessee and Braxton Bragg, where it's basically like Dallas level drama. There's my Dallas reference for this.
I haven't mentioned Dallas in a few weeks.
No. But Tim also mentions figure many of them were Copperheads who didn't want to eliminate slavery and drag their feet. You have that with McClellan. He is definitely a Copperhead. John Reynolds, surprisingly, was that way as well. He was a Democrat.
Well, obviously Sherman. I know he wasn't there.
Gibbon. And so was John Gibbon, and yes, Sherman as well. Now, I think, Sherman eventually came around to not thinking that way. Would McClellan have? I'm not sure. Would John Reynolds? Maybe they would have, John Reynolds is alive still when the emancipation is dropped.
Reynolds is still alive?
I said alive when the emancipation is dropped. Oh my God. Yes, he's alive and well and living. He's upstairs eating breakfast.
Well, he would have been alive if that damn Confederate didn't shoot him in Herb's Woods.
Anyways.
You don't know? How do you know? You cannot tell me for a fact.
I don't know. Well, let's go find out.
Oh, yeah, okay. Figure that one out. Do you know what the definition of insanity is, Mary? What's the definition of insanity?
I don't know, but there's a picture
doing something
next to the word.
Okay, that's true. Doing something dumb and doing it again. So I'm doing this again. Remember this?
What one is that?
This is that jelly donut one again.
Why are you?
I don't know. I just felt I want to give it another shot. I want to give it a second chance.
What are you linking with McClellan now?
I don't know.
Do you think it's suddenly going to start?
I figure
No. I got a better one.
Okay.
Are you Jeff Davis with Braxton Bragg right now, or John Belgood?
I'm trying to stay.
They're going to perform properly.
Mary, there's a method to the madness because I figured since Burnside YOLO'd Fredericksburg, I'm going to YOLO this. This is my homage to Ambrose Burnside from Rhode Island, New Englander, by the way.
Wow. You do you, Weeks. You do you. I wouldn't have you any other way. Just drinking shitty beer.
I got Treehouse 2 ready to go here. Yeah, I am digging my own grave.
Yep. Paul Reynolds faked his death to get away from his fiance. Aw, I love that.
I know a guy.
Story,
I know a guy.
Allie said Reynolds is still napping. Still napping, but I'm sure we can find him somewhere.
Well, considering how long it took his body to get back to Lancaster, he's probably still out there somewhere, right?
Probably wandering around. But yeah, there's so many stories of Reynolds napping, which is, again, something like it's a very humanizing story, right? So he's caught by D.H. Hill napping, and they're friends, and D.H. Hill is just like, this is the way of war, and Reynolds is like, fuck that. And then he falls asleep at Chancellorsville when they have the war council.
Yeah.
Hooker's in there, and I think he says to me, I'm going to fucking take a nap, I'm tired. And then he wakes up, and Hooker has basically said to them, well, I know you all voted to attack, but we're retreating, and I'd already made up my mind about it. And Reynolds is like, why the fuck did you call the meeting then?
He would have fallen asleep at the War Council at Gettysburg too.
Yeah, he would
probably.
He was sleeping by that point.
Well, you could tell Meade was pissed because you see the painting his eyes. That painting. So he was probably already.
It's like he's got.
He was pissed off at somebody that meeting. Probably
painting.
Gibbon was probably sleeping. It was probably OO probably. That's probably
he was taking shit on like shitting all over OO. Just because
will you all shut up, please? Will you all? I'm trying. From his one line in the Gettysburg movie, it's so dark I can't see the hand in front of my face. The commanding general at Gettysburg gets one freaking line, but Buster Kilrain gets 8 scenes.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I don't know if you guys know the picture we're talking about, but it's from the War Council, and Meade looks like his eyes are all lit up.
Yeah, if Google War Council Gettysburg painting and look at his eyes. Any guy who's ever been dating or married knows that look. I'll tell you that right now. But it's a great look.
Howard's horse was smoking.
Oh, that's probably what it was, Mary. He probably got a chance to ride on Tony Montana for a little while.
And he's looking at Howard like, you fucker, what did you give me?
It's so bad. It's so bad. Please have one for this teetotaler. Hey, John. Hey, John, did you get a chance to start that book we sent you? The one with the Black Iron Mercy? If you did, I know you're busy and you got a million things going on. I was curious if you started, what you thought about it so far. And I love that book.
Oh, it is so good. I can't put it down when I'm reading it. It's just such a, and I want to see it made into a movie. I love the characters. I love Arliss. He's so cool.
How far have you gotten in it? Are you still?
I'm like 90 some pages, I think.
Yeah, you read it at the glacial speed like I do. That's the problem.
I do. I know.
It's definitely a slower era.
Jim Reynolds and Elvis have been living in Bolivia this entire time with JFK and Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, no, John, no rush on it. I was just curious if you started so we could talk about it real quick. But you're gonna love it because I know you like the Iron Brigade. So definitely check it. It's a really, really fascinating read. It's just a good book.
Allie knows the picture and she says it's on the National Park website for Gettysburg, and he looks crazy.
Oh my God!
Just his look. He's like.
He's got that "I lied on my resume but got the job and have to perform" look on his face.
And how he's standing there with his hands.
Oh yeah.
He's just like staring.
You know, it looks like yeah.
He's giving Howard shit for something. Everybody's blaming Howard.
He's like the ghost of Christmas past staring at the guys,
Oh, John, you're very welcome. It's the least we could do for you having us on our live stream and the podcast and all that. We so appreciated that.
John, I was going to just interrupt Mary, but John, just like we said, Mary and I did yesterday, we both did. We listened to our episode with you again.
Yeah.
We both listened to it. John was, as I'm sure everybody knows, he's the fantastic host of the Tattooed Historian show. And he had us chuckleheads on about a month or so ago to talk about stuff. And so it's on there. So check it out. But definitely follow Tattooed Historian. It's good. It's just a it's probably my favorite podcast, to be honest. Out of
Yeah,
all
it
of them.
is.
It's just
John's awesome.
he's a good dude though. He's a
Oh
he's
yeah,
a,
yeah.
you know, just a good
No
solid guy.
ego. He is himself, and I can tell you, like, having met him in person, how he is on his podcast, his live streams, and he does live streams on Twitch. Which, thanks to John, we are gonna hopefully be on Twitch soon, because he kind of like inspired me to get on there, because I think it's a platform that would definitely be beneficial for us in order to connect with more people.
And John, when we this border opens, when we stumble down at Gettysburg, we'll come hook you up.
Tracker line's open. But yeah, John's a very genuine person, and he's very passionate about history, and it comes through in his live streams. And like I said, he's awesome to hang out with in person too. He and I think we hung out for like 3 hours at Gettysburg, just sitting at the Blue and Gray, and it went by like that.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of good people in this field, Mary. There really are. I mean, we talk about the people who watch us and listen to us, and we hang with them. Just good. You know what? I've always said the Civil War people are the smartest people. I've always said that. But I think that they're just genuine good folks for the most part.
Like our listeners, I've learned so much from them, and it's such a, like, I love these Saturday mornings. It's like, it actually feels like we are hanging out with everybody. You know, I sometimes forget that I'm just reading the comments, right? But it actually feels like we're hanging out, and our round tables are always just it's such a great group. Like, there's no judgment, there's no, like, all opinions are welcome, and even if somebody doesn't agree with somebody else, everybody's very respectful, and I really love that.
Well,
especially as someone who
almost everybody's. We don't give any names, but you know, there are some people here who, one of them, not somebody here, but someone took a real steaming piss on Mary on Facebook this week.
Yeah, all just because I said Howard was an underrated general, and it turned into like a personal attack. It was the worst. It was the worst thing that I've ever experienced on social media.
And it was someone who should have known better too.
Yeah.
Right.
I basically got told I was wrong for having Howard as my favorite general. And I don't care what people think about Howard or whatever, but like, or who anybody's favorite general is. I'm never going to say they're wrong for that, because they have their own reasons, you know, and some of those reasons are very, very interesting. But I just, you know, like, I'm not a huge fan of, you know, Burnside, but if that's somebody's favorite general, good for them, you know, and they probably know a lot about him because of that. And you can learn from that, and maybe it'll change your own opinion about it.
Hey, Denise jumped on.
Hey, Denise.
Denise went out to the bar.
Shout out on Facebook last night too.
Shoot out to the bar last night too. Like, it was pretty cool. Just to get it while you can, unfortunately, but definitely. It's so funny. Yeah, but going back to that, I mean, I don't want to belabor this point, but I mean, you know what? When someone tells you that your opinion, opinion, not fact, is wrong, they're a dick. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's about sports, politics, history, the color of the sky. It doesn't matter. You know, undulations versus rolling hills is the exception, of course, Mary, because you're wrong. But I think, but I think for the most part, you got to, I mean, come on. I felt bad. And some of us, you know, some people jumped on to get your back a little bit, Mary.
Exactly, you did. You know? Darren had my back through that. And so thank you for that. And so did some other people too. And it was really, you know, and I did, you know, I told the guy, I said, this is no way to treat anybody. This is, if you like, I couldn't believe it. Like, Allie, can't handle the man with the good hair. That's true. Howard's got the best Civil War hair.
I'm going to say second behind Milroy, by the way. I am. I'm going to take that to my grave. But
Amelia hopped on. Hey, Amelia. John said he's had to ban a lot of people from his page. That's sad.
I'm sure. Yeah. You know what? That's why our friend Gary from Battlefield Trust, Gary Edelman, he says he bans people at first. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, because that's how you have to do it. I mean, because there's some people, look, no one knows everything. And everyone's opinion matters. Everyone's opinion matters. You know what? Whether you've been studying this for 100 years or you just started, it doesn't matter. Your opinion's your opinion, and that's the best part about it. But to come back, especially you, who I've said a million times knows more about this shit than anybody I know, is coming at you, attacking your, I don't know, fuck that, I'm a douchebag. But anyway, enough of that. So
Allie K said, no, what the hell, Mare? I have loved this group. It has rekindled my Civil War love. I know very little than most of you all, but I love the book enabling how I can just show up and learn, and that's fun and entertaining and not so serious. Thank you, Allie K. You're great. And like you know more than you think you do about the Civil War. I think, you know, and you're a fun part of this group for sure. You know, it's always awesome to see you on the
although her golden her Golden Gophers are afraid to put my BC Eagles in hockey, though, Mary. You know that. They're afraid.
But her husband pronounces the word pasta like I do.
Oh, well, yeah, that's two of you. Okay, that's fine. Whedon has the best hair. I don't know about that, Ben. Maybe, perhaps. I don't know about that, but Howard does have good hair. We'll see. Although I did see him recently with a picture without his beard, Mary.
Oh, God, that was so fucked up.
And that was per your request on the live last week. You said, I'd like to see him without a beard. And so
I was like, "Phew."
be careful. It's like Leonard. Be careful what you wish for. You say one damn thing and he jumps all over you. Where's Leonard, by the way?
That was great this morning when you posted
Actually, it was. Oh, this beer sucks, Mary. This beer is terrible.
Why are you?
I don't know. Why do I do anything I do?
If I was there, I would have taken it from you and dumped it out and got you in better beer.
You don't dump out.
Like, you're not drinking that. Fucker.
You don't dump out. You don't. Just don't do it.
Yeah, you do.
Mm-mm.
Hey, Greg. That
was awful, evil. What was the beer? I was like, what the hell am I talking? What the hell do I do friggin' now? I gotta keep track of the shitty things I do, apparently. No, but the beer, I had fun with that. He's a guy, who definitely needs to have a beer. There's no question about that. But I saw that and I was like, oh my God, this is nightmare fuel. I'm like, I'm absolutely tweeting this. Fuck that.
I replied to you. I'm like, Jesus H. And then I think I sent you a text all in caps. What the fuck, Darren?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, Ellie Kay's awesome. She's her Minnesota Golden Gophers doing well. I have zero hate towards Minnesota, the Gophers, Allie. We're on the same page with the anti-North Dakota thing and the anti-Wisconsin hockey thing too, for that matter. But
apparently,
I'm gonna give you a hard time.
Percy Wyndham had the best hair, according to Ryan.
No, wow, okay. You know who didn't have the best hair, Mary? Ambrose Burnside. You know where he was? Fredericksburg.
Nice.
That's what we call in the industry a segue. So as we were saying about Fredericksburg,
I love these lives. They're amazing.
Darren, I swear, we're going to keep this on topic this time. I swear.
Oh, my God.
Anonymous. Who said that?
Am I in trouble now?
Yeah, you're in trouble, right? Meanwhile, Oliver Otis Howard has the best hair. Hey, whatever. Everybody's having fun. Who cares? But,
John, that's how you bring it back, Darren. Yeah. Fredericksburg was, I think my favorite part of researching this episode was I got lost in Howard's memoirs because I love the way he writes, but he gives a very detailed account of what happened to Meade. So I think he and Meade must have sat down after and Meade recounted it to him. But he too, you see a very human side when you read Howard's memoirs. Like he tells of this letter he writes his friend, and he says, I'm not scared to go into battle, but by the time you get this, you will have heard of a battle that probably didn't go very well. But then he says, I'm not scared, but I'm so sad for my men right now. Just the use of the word sad is, because he knows, like Howard knows that he's not going to be in the thick of it, right? Like he's going to be far back because he's commanding these men. But the other thing too is you see the bias in Howard's memoirs as well with the looting. He really downplays what the Union Army did. But he does tell this story of when he came across these men who they've dragged like a piano out onto the street. They're playing music and they're dancing and they've obviously been into the wine. And Howard says to them, "Is this?"
Were they singing too?
Yeah, they were singing. Just call me maybe. Anyway, so he goes up to them and he says, "Is this how you guys prepare for battle?" And they say, "General, we're going to fight tomorrow. Just give us this." And I think he let it pass. And that's like, I really saw the human side to Howard in reading his recollections. But we were talking about the looting in the podcast, and we did mention the bias that clearly exists in Howard's memoirs, because then you have other Union officers saying this is an embarrassment, what we did here. This didn't need to happen, because that was the last thing they needed to happen, is give the South more fuel, right?
Jonathan, was there a way for the Union to win at Fredericksburg? It was like the movie War Games, Jonathan. The best strategy was not to play. Okay.
Yeah.
The original plan was what Lincoln wanted to do, was they wanted to attack directly at Lee's army at a place called Warrenton while they were split. So Stonewall Jackson was still up at Winchester. Okay. he had a chance. But if Burnside really was insistent on going to Richmond, which apparently he was, he should have kept going south. He should have gone around it. But that being said, the pontoon boats not arriving for 2 weeks really hurt them. But even when they did arrive, they did have an opportunity. The problem was he waited too long. So they did have a chance. But once Jackson got on Prospect Hill and once Longstreet, who got there a few days before, about 6 days before, got to Marie's Heights, it was an impregnable. There was no way they were going to win. There was no way.
Absolutely.
I mean, don't forget, they had the Rebs had 80,000 men.
I know.
That's more they had, more than they had at Gettysburg, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So there was the opportunity to win would have been at the very beginning, but a comedy of errors between Halleck not getting the pontoon boats, the pontoon boats arriving but not having the horses to move the pontoon boats, and then still missing the opportunity, not taking advantage of Edwin Sumner's advice to go across and take the heights before the army came. That's where the big three that doomed them. So I would say, long answer to a short question. They really had no shot. Once you got to December 11th, they had no shot.
Yeah. Even when Burnside got approval for his plan, Lincoln said, Lincoln through Halleck said, I approve this, but you got to be quick. Like, you got to have this quick, because the reason they were doing it is it was a risky plan, but to get across to Fredericksburg meant you had a more direct and quicker line to Richmond. So there was a risk with the plan, but you had to execute it quickly. And it was, as you said, comedy of errors. And Howard hints out in his memoirs that he sees this as complete meddling by Halleck. And didn't need to take, it should have taken 3 days, not 3 weeks.
It's certainly possible. Like we said before, that's why you don't order pontoons on eBay, Mary, especially around the holidays, because the mail is going to be delayed.
Or from Canada, because that's going to take fucking forever to get to you.
For God's sakes, I'll get that for Christmas 2021 probably.
Exactly.
Hey, Al Paganelli, the great commander of the Civil War Lampoon.
Yep.
Like I said before, definitely. If you like a good time, if you're in for a good time, check out Civil War Lampoon. That's a great Facebook page. Civil War. It's very intelligent comedy.
It is. Yes, it is. Jim says the frontal assault on Marye's Heights is one of the worst decisions of the war. Yep.
It's certainly up there. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, it's much, much worse than Pickett's Charge, because as much as Pickett's Charge was a mess, you had basically 2 divisions, sort of, 1.5 at Pickett's Charge. You had 7 divisions going to Marie's Heights, 7, right? So, and then it was repeated, 14 different attacks, different waves of attacks. Every one of them failed, and they kept, kind of like my decision to drink this beer again, repeating the same thing over.
That's your Marye's Heights right there.
Well, that's why.
Take Marye's Heights.
That's why I did it. I take one for the team. I'll make it an example. See what I did? This is what I do for this podcast, Mary. I don't do my hair and come on late. I bring it.
You fucker! I'll remember that.
That look makes the whole thing worth it.
That's been filed. Here.
Oh God, that's been get in line with that. But no, but I think it's I mean, how the hell, especially when your guys are telling you it's not working, and then he wanted. Burnside on the 15th of December wanted to command his old 9th Corps and do it again. And they had to basically restrain him. No, you want to fucking forget it. Yeah. So it was a complete disaster. But I mean, it obviously played just as you thought it would in the North. And Lincoln had that quote about, if there's a place worse than hell, I'm in it.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just it. I can't, I feel so bad for the other commanders in this. Even Hooker, he just let enough men go that he had to. And then when he he knew he had to pull back. John, Dale. John, the shit I put up with, I tell you.
For God's sakes.
LEK shots fired.
If you look close, you can see her actually carrying that cross right now, John. Yeah. It's really a sad thing.
So not only do I feel like I have an ice pick going through my eye right now because of the migraine, I'm having to put up with
hangover. Right. I'm sorry. So Al said. Al said. What did Hooker say? Paraphrase. I took my quota of casualties, no more. You're right.
Yep.
In Hooker's defense, he actually saw the battlefield. Burnside never crossed the river, so he went back and said, he tells Hooker, go up there and see what's going on, because I'm pointing. You can see I'm pointing towards
the heights.
Where I'm pointing, right? So he sends him over. He comes back and says, dude, no way. And he's like, well, you better do it. And so, and then you get those stories where Hooker's guys are going up the hill. And and basically it's sad because you've got these soldiers, this, you're talking, guys, the soldiers who are felled, who are still alive, are trying to grab at the pants of these guys going up the hill, saying, "Don't go, don't go, don't go." Trying to physically restrain them because they know what's happening. So it's it's brutal. I mean, my God, this is terrible.
They had to know, like, it was absolute murder, and even EP Alexander saying, like, a chicken wouldn't live on this field after we open up on it. And in his own memoirs, he's like, I can't believe Burnside did that. Like, why would you do that?
Oh, nobody hit the spots like EP Alexander, Mary.
It's truth.
Talked about that.
Ryan said, when do we start the pointless argument about who gets furthest up the heights? Irish Brigade and St. Clair Mulholland for the win. Mulholland is just from down the road from me, Lisburn County, Antrim, Northern Ireland. This is like who broke first or 11th.
Oh God, say that in the mine.
I plan on it.
Throwing a hand grenade and running out the door.
I plan on it. The Canadians.
The first corps broke first.
Broke first, fuckers.
And you get your Facebook friend from the other day will stand up and say, "Who said that?"
And I'll be like, "I did, fucker."
You'll be like, "I did." Then you'll run and I'll be standing there. Fuck. That's what's gonna happen.
Howard called it first.
That's why I'm gonna have killed at Gettysburg in my gravestone, Mary. That's what's gonna exactly what's me.
You'll take one for me, thank you.
Oh yeah, because I know you'll appreciate it totally. Anyways, but the thing of the matter is you have to assume Burnside saw, right, this endless wave of stuff, because you have to have hearing about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's still going by. I mean, and he goes right off of his plan. So he's talking about, we mentioned before about the one division on each end, right? He knew the first division got pushed back pretty well, and so he sends 6 more in, and you got to think around 4, maybe 5, maybe 6. It wasn't going to work. I mean, right off the bat, French and those guys at the very beginning, the first ones in, and they got slaughtered pretty quick. And one of the biggest problems they had was that canal, Mary, they had those 3 bridges over the canal, so they had to cross. And they had to I gotta stop reading these damn comments. I swear to God.
Funny.
Just knocks me off my track every single time. But again, you had to assume that this, there was so many things wrong with this. And they really should have, if there wasn't that many, if they would have sent in, Franklin's entire army to take Prospect Hill and commanded that, it might have been a little bit different. But again, he still thought that Prospect Hill was the primary focus of the battle, right?
Yeah.
And then once it kind of failed in his part, he didn't know that Longstreet was going to. I mean, that Jackson was going to move his guys towards Marie's Heights to enforce it. 4 deep of infantry on that wall on the sunken road, right? And they had in reserves behind that.
Yeah, it was like, why? And you got to wonder if, I think you get in a certain state of mind in a battle, right? Somebody like Howard remains cool, calm, and collected during battle. Some would argue probably not, but he did, I think.
Well, you know what though? And you wonder what Burnside's his deal was, because it wasn't like we talked about the Battle of Franklin last week, remember? About how Hood, he kind of had something to prove, we think, right? For the most part. He was hell-bent on going to Nashville, hell-bent on beating Schofield, hell-bent on redeeming himself from losing Atlanta. What was Burnside trying to prove?
I think very much the same thing as Hood. And I just had a thought. I know we were talking actually on John's podcast about like kind of writing parallel histories or whatever, say Johnston and Sherman together, or I can't remember what the other example was from there, but it would be interesting to actually look at Burnside and Hood in the same way, because there is actually a lot of similarities. Hood's got something to prove at Franklin, and I think Burnside was trying to prove something at Fredericksburg. He wants that win. He knows they need that win. I think like very, very similar to that, where he can't back down. But then also too, like, I think he might, if you're under that pressure, that might have broke him mentally for a while,
Well, you mentioned a good point of compare, like we mentioned on John's podcast, the correlation where Judas said between McClellan and Joseph Johnson we talked about, and there's a lot of that, and yeah, there's no doubt that she's going to get me killed. I know that. I just accept that, for God's
Hey,
sakes.
Jay Price is here. Hi,
Jay Price. Now, happy belated birthday, Jen
yeah,
Price.
Happy birthday, Jen.
Her birthday was yesterday, so we had some fun with that.
Yeah, we did.
I'm talking to the people on the thing. I know you know it was her birthday.
Excuse me.
I read your heartfelt message to her. It was.
What, you're not being sarcastic for once with me?
I was being I'm nothing but nice. I'm not sarcastic at all. But Jen, happy birthday. Hope you had a great time last night. It was fun having some birthday fun with you yesterday. So I'm glad we got to do that.
Yeah, Jay Price is awesome. Who ran away from the mine first, Weeks or Mare?
It's going to be her, guaranteed, no question. You know, she's a little, but her legs move fast. She'll be happy up Steinway before you know what the hell even happens.
I'm going to race you to the OO statue.
Okay.
Up that hill, you know?
I know. I know. Oh, we got to run. I mean, okay.
Shove you down on the ground.
Maybe speed walk.
No, I'll take off running, but before I do, just go like that.
Good. I'm just gonna run. I'll go to O'Rourke's and wait for you at the bar then. Okay, have fun. Go have fun with OO.
Oh, I will. Greg said, if Burnside decided not to attack due to how the situation developed, do you think that Lincoln would have replaced him immediately?
I don't think. You know what? I don't know how he could have though, because
Lincoln was into giving chances. That's the thing.
I mean, don't forget, Greg. Thanks for jumping on. By the way, he offered Burnside that job 3 times. So for whatever reason, Lincoln wanted him, and Lincoln wanted him to be aggressive. He wanted him to hit Lee. And when Burnside said, no, I want to do this, Lincoln acquiesced to that. He gave into his plan. He right after he's like, no, it was, no way. But then he came back and said, okay, fine. If that's what you really insist on doing, then go for it. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, you wonder what's going on in the head of Lincoln sometimes with some of these decisions he made. I think we agree Hooker would have been the guy.
I think so. But like Lincoln was, he's into giving chances. He tells Burnside, okay, this is a good plan, but you got to boot it. You got to get your ass there because it's risky. And one thing too, you flash forward to when he puts Hooker in command, but then after the debacle that was Chancellorsville, like Hooker goes to resign and Lincoln actually says to him, I'll give you another chance. Lord knows I gave McClellan many.
Well, then going back to McClellan again, we talked before about that early September, 1862 conference, where his entire cabinet was convinced not only was McClellan going to be let go of the army, he was going to be let go of the entire government. Just salt the fields, be done with this guy.
Yeah.
Lincoln stands up and says, "No, not only am I not going to get rid of him, I'm going to put him in charge of the defenses of Washington." Yeah. Then, as soon as Lee moves up on September 2nd into Maryland, he puts him as field commander. So Lincoln went against a lot of what his own cabinet said. He did. As well as, so whatever was going on in his head, I mean, you say what you will about Lincoln, but he could make a decision, right? Yep. Oh, whether it was a good decision was where the argument is.
Exactly.
But he certainly stood by them, but then he was quick to realize it was a mistake. In November he got rid of McClellan 2 months later. So
it's I don't know, it's fascinating to look at this in the way that we do, going back to our McClellan episode and then discussing Burnside. It's really opened my eyes to a side of Lincoln I never saw before. I didn't really see before for whatever reason, but just how much the administration's decisions are factoring into how long this war went on.
I think every decision Lincoln made at this part of the war was based on the election of 1864. I think that was, most of these presidents, and this is, current presidents, past presidents, they're all the same. They're focused on the election. Some current guy more than most of them, to be honest, but most of them are focused on the election. So he was as well, because he knew that if the Democrats had taken power in 64, that everything he was fighting for was going to be gone. Exactly. He knew he had to have a one. And the reality is he did have a one. He had a one really, he had a one on July 4th, 1863 when Vicksburg fell, realistically. But certainly when Atlanta fell, it was done. Yeah. And then definitely, without a doubt, as the Sherman was doing his march, there's all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as you said the war was over when.
No, not Sherman do as much, but before that, basically as the West was won, as they say, because Sherman's thing was basically after.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a done
I
deal.
do in some ways that the war seems to have been won in the West. I think that's where you see a lot of decisive strategic victories. But the East too, like I'm not discounting the East, but I think there was a lot more of the strategic victories are happening in the Western theater. Jonathan raises a good point. A lot, I think, would depend how soon Burnside did a follow-up operation.
Yeah. Now Heckman's leaving. John, have a great rest of the afternoon.
Have a
Good luck
great
with
day,
your Twitch
John.
stream. We'll catch up with you soon, my
Thank you for
friend.
stopping by.
But I mean, Burnside. I mean, granted, it wasn't Burnside's fault. I mean, after Fredericksburg, they got pants at Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
But you can't blame him for that mud march thing that got him ultimately fired because of the weather.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough. It was like, I think that was a classic excuse of Lincoln saying, "Shit, I got to get rid of this guy at this point." We better get Hooker involved now. And putting Hooker in is proof that I think he knew he should have put Hooker in at the beginning.
It is,
right?
And I mean, I know we're eventually going to do an episode about Hooker at some point. I am, for all his faults, I am definitely Team Hooker. I have a lot of respect for him for what he did with the AOP because I believe that the Army of the Potomac that won at Gettysburg was not fully General Meade's army at that point. There wasn't enough time for him.
Oh, there's no way it was.
It was the army that Hooker and McClellan had created that won that battle.
Picture, the quarterback is going into the playoffs of your football team, okay? And the night before the playoff game, the quarterback gets hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. They bring a new guy in. He wins the game. He won with the previous guys. That's the whole thing. I mean, or a better comparison would be the coach getting fired if something happens. That was not Meade's army. He did a great job with it. I mean, he made it his own.
Yep.
And he put his stamp on it. But again, you want to talk about Gettysburg. He went between offense and defense. He was wishy-washy, but he was based on the situation. He didn't even see the battlefield until the second day of the battle, right?
No, but I good for him for staying back where he was. He did that just in case. Meade was a very forward-thinking general. He also had a lot of trust in his subordinates. I don't fault him with putting Hancock in charge, because he trusted Hancock. He didn't know Howard as well, and I think Meade made the right call with that. Now, some people say Meade's not aggressive because he let his subordinates do everything, but to me, that's the sign of what a great general he was, because he was able to read his men, read the situation, and say, okay, Hancock, I know Howard outranks you, but you need to go and assess the situation. I'm going to stay back here just in case.
Well, Slocum outranked all of them. If you want to talk about somebody who should have been pissed off, should have been Slocum, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right? Slocum outranked both Howard and Hancock, but he wasn't there yet. He got there. That's why they call him slow to come Slocum, right? No, seriously, that's why they call him that.
I know. Slocum's another guy that I would like to look at more just because of his role in the March to the Sea. He seems like he was a pretty calm, he must have been calm and collected for Sherman to choose him for that. But just him getting sent out to the Western Theater, I think he's another one that shone more out there, just like Howard did. Liza's Team Hooker, Jay Price. Episode title for Hooker, The Return of the Bang Barn.
Yeah. And the one that Hooker, actually Al just stole my thunder a little bit, what he just mentioned here, was taking that to the next point, was Hooker was paranoid too, okay?
Yeah.
Like, for example, he had Dan Butterfield. One of the reasons why he kept Dan Butterfield, why he kept him on is because Butterfield knew where the army was. When you're in charge, knowledge is power, right?
Exactly.
Hooker knew where all the corps were.
Yeah.
So when Meade takes over, first thing he needed to do was find out where his friggin' army was, right? Yeah. So Hooker wasn't about to divulge before he was released where these guys were, because this is the way he was. He was afraid of whatever he was afraid of. Yeah. That's a big reason why he kept Butterfield, because Butterfield he knew where the bodies were buried.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And so, but that was Hooker. That was a big part about Hooker. But he did do a good job, especially at Chancellorsville, arranging the corps. Even, the big thing Hooker did was the artillery, to be honest, with the AOP, was establishing artillery with every single corps, not just overall, and even the badge symbols, even the corps symbols.
Oh yeah, the
big,
corps symbols are, that's where you get like the half moon and all that, which.
Yeah. I mean, because it gave you a sort of pride in your corps. And that was a big part. So he basically took what McClellan did in training the army, And what Hooker did was make you basically not only proud of your corps, but he also made sure that they were defended with the artillery, which each specific corps. And a lot of people don't talk about that. They don't
No,
realize that was a big deal at the time.
that's a huge, and I found, when I looked more at Hooker for an episode we did about him on Real Spirit podcast, like that's when I really came around to respecting him and seeing like, okay, for all his faults, this guy is an amazing administrator. He takes an army that is so broken after Fredericksburg and he raises their morale. And even after they lose at Chancellorsville, they keep that morale. And that's because of Hooker. And I don't think he gets enough credit for what he did for the AOP. You know.
And Allie's is a great what if Hooker didn't drop. See, it's tough to say, okay, but a big Lee when Meade took over, the first thing Lee thought of was Meade is a Pennsylvania guy. He is going to take his time to defend Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So he saw that as an offensive opportunity now. Yep. So we talked before about the Gettysburg campaign being a big shopping trip, which is what it was. It was not about taking Philly, I don't care who the hell, whatever. But it made Lee more aggressive. And I think that's a big part of why he was so offensive at Gettysburg, or I say offensive to you, like you say it, okay, was I think he knew that Meade was going to be defensive. And in this, what Longstreet's big problem was, is he's like, yeah, we want to fight. This is what we want.
Yeah, exactly.
But he saw Meade maybe being a little too cautious, perhaps, and maybe there's an opportunity to really drive him. Mm-hmm. And I think, so if Hooker had stayed, I don't know how aggressive Lee would have been. It's a great what if, though. It's tough to say.
Yeah, it is. It is. Leonard says, great episode this week, guys. Thank you, Leonard. And thank you for posting that meme.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Leonard. Appreciate it.
I'm waiting for the one with the Goodwill blimp.
How come it's always me who gets pissed on by Leonard? Oh, it's always me. It's fine. I love it. I think it's awesome, Leonard.
He agreed with you about the undulations weeks.
That's true. It is undulations, by the way. I'll take that. I'll fight that hill to the end, because it is. But Leonard does some great stuff, man. He's awesome. He's
a great guy. Hey, Patricia. Ryan has a book recommendation. He says that Sherman's Forgotten General ain't bad. And he said, though the forgotten bit in the title is overused, if you look at the shelves, all the battles and generals have been forgotten at one time or another. Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah, Leonard says, right. Even in the movie, Lee said that about he'll be cautious. He goes, they had that in the movie too. So, I mean, that's a good what if, though, about Hooker. Hooker would have been more aggressive. You wonder how, I don't think Hooker would have worried about the Pipe Creek line. I think he would have been more aggressive. I think he would have been more interested in pushing Lee out of Pennsylvania, I think.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, I think he would have had, here's the thing, Mary. We mentioned before about Hood after Atlanta. I think Hooker would have been in a prove myself mode at Gettysburg.
Oh, yeah.
And he would have been substantially more aggressive. And maybe it's Pickett's charge in reverse then, right? Yeah. Maybe you got the Union attacking across Seminary Ridge and they get their ass. That's what's great about history. It's the little things, you never know.
The what ifs. It's like, what if Reynolds had accepted the position?
You know what I think would have happened, just between you and I here, Mary? I think what Lee would have done is he would have fortified South Mountain and he would have waited Hooker to attack him, and it would have been a slaughter.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what I think, the Battle of South Mountain just happened. I think he would have realized the Union was forming, was pulling into Gettysburg. He would have defended that, and he would have forced Meade, Hooker to hit him. That's what I bet would have happened. I bet you that's what would have happened.
Yeah. Allie B says, though wouldn't have felt Lee felt pretty good about going up against Hooker again. Who knows, gets the mind working. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, here's Lee and Hooker going up against each other again at Gettysburg. And
you know what though?
Probably like Lee though is so arrogant going into the Gettysburg campaign because he's riding high. Oh, go Navy! He's riding high on Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville.
You know what though? Chancellorsville, Hooker's plan at Chancellorsville was not that bad.
No, it wasn't.
It really wasn't. The problem wasn't his famous quote about Joe Hooker lost confidence in Joe Hooker. I mean, Lee had to split his army, 3 times, right? Yeah. And if they had driven from the west across Chancellorsville, they could have really pushed him back, right? Mm-hmm. I think I don't know, Mary. I think he would have. I think I think when Hooker left, he probably felt like shit for missing the opportunity,
but he's
right?
also been concussed too. And
That's true. That's
like
true.
like the thing is like people don't think of the effects of that, what a concussion has on a person. We know more about it now. They didn't back in the 1860s when it happened to Hooker, and I think he was out of it for probably a pretty long while. And he finally, I think when he goes to Lookout Mountain, that's his redemption, and that's when he's finally back to being Joe Hooker. He's like, I gotta, I need to redeem myself here. I'm going to get these fuckers and I'm going to get credit for this. And then Grant totally fucks him over with that, as we discussed in our episodes about Chattanooga.
So if you guys, yes, Tim, I have been to Uniontown, Maryland, as a matter of fact.
too.
Yep, that's a pretty cool little place. But yeah, but no, I forgot about the concussion he got, and all that stuff. And that's a good thing. The whole Union.
That's a huge thing that factors.
The Hazel Grove thing is big, but again, it's who knows. I mean, and that goes. Yeah, there's a lot of what ifs out of Chancellorsville. Is this where Sickles learned he couldn't? He had to be a plover. Who knows? I mean, people argue about this stuff all.
The ghosts of
day
Chancellorsville are following Sickles and Howard to Gettysburg.
Yeah.
And that's and two, like, Howard's in charge of the 11th Corps, and he's a completely, mismatched with that corps. Takes him a long time to find his footing with that. I think his performance at Fredericksburg, I don't think Howard does too bad at Fredericksburg at all. Like
So here's a what if for you, Mary.
Okay.
So Hood was in charge. Meade was in charge of the 5th Corps, so he gets promoted. Barnes becomes what if they put Howard in charge of the 5th instead of the 11th at Gettysburg? What if they did that? Because they could have, right? So now he's controlling, all those guys, right? Not Sykes, not Barnes.
Sykes,
Barnes is a division,
Sykes
yeah.
before,
But they right? You never know.
Yep.
I mean, maybe they could have, but what I'm saying is, I think the ghost of Chancellorsville is a great point you make, because I think that ghost would have followed Hooker. I mean, concussion notwithstanding, let's just pretend that didn't happen for a second, okay? How would that have played into it? Because I bet you it would have led to a much more aggressive Union at Gettysburg, which probably would have played right into Lee's hands, right?
Yep.
Maybe it's the most important concussion in American history, Mary.
It could very well be.
Good. Yeah. I mean, it probably was.
If I got hit with a fucking piece of whatever it was that hit him when that shell hit that house, I probably, you think about it, he's probably suffering from headaches on a daily basis. I think the concussion is actually what ends up killing him at an early age. He has a series of strokes after the Civil War. It's probably that concussion, and he, Ben says it does mess you up. Who knows?
You need a concussion. You're so little you could probably walk under a table and hit your head. So you got to be careful, Mary. You need a concussion.
And Jonathan says Lee had the same sickness as Yamamoto did in World War II, victory sickness. Yeah, I think that was it. Leonard, Ed Bears, I'm going to say his last name.
It's Bars with 47 S's at the end.
No, and there's that in Howard Shadow if he'd had the 5th Corps there. So there's that.
I mean, look, I get it. I mean, you can say what you will about Howard at Chancellorsville. I don't get the Gettysburg hate for Howard. I never got it. I mean, he's on top of the Fahnestock House. He's told he's in command.
Yeah.
And he was smart enough to realize that Cemetery Hill was the point to defend.
Yep.
Right.
He didn't. That is a fine piece of ass.
He said, "Tell me about it. Spank that." Put the guns up there. But for real though. I mean, he didn't retreat. He concentrated his army. There's that story where he personally took the flag to the wall where the hotel is now, the 1863 Inn, because the flag bearer was afraid to carry it.
Yep.
It must obviously carried in his left arm, obviously.
Yep.
But I think we've talked about this. He gets a bad rap, and it is what it is.
Well, hey, that's why you and I are going to write a book about Howard someday.
Well, Al, you got a concussion. Yeah, I know a lot of people have got concussions from my sports days, and it's just you can't look at light. The whole sound. Oh man,
who knows what Hooker was going through, and I think a lot of people don't consider that when they're looking at him.
Well, how many people were accused of being drunk when they were actually concussed in these Civil War battles, right?
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there is, guys like Ledley at the Crater who probably was drunk. Iverson probably was drunk. I mean, you know what though? I mean, you never know. I mean, that's the thing.
Exactly.
You just don't know about it.
You don't know how these things mentally affect people, right? Like there's the ones like Howard that and Sherman that they just seem to in all the chaos. Why are you?
I did it for the podcast, Mary. I did it for the point. Plus, I had one more I got to get rid of. I'm not going to.
What do you want? Respect for that? For drinking a shitty beer?
Anyway, you were saying?
I don't. Jesus. You give someone like Howard who is pretty calm in battle. Sherman, Grant. They're able to make these decisions in all this chaos. But then you have somebody, like Burnside, who in the chaos they go into a fog. But then if you have a concussion, it's gonna affect your thinking. There's no way that Hooker could have been functioning after that, and of course nobody knows who's in charge at Chancellorsville at that point. Like it's so fucked up. Allie B, I agree. I don't know why.
Don't I get credit for going back into the fire?
No, because you can always dump it out in the fucking sink.
I'm like one of those dudes who runs back into the fire to save somebody the second time. They got away, but they went back in again. That's right. I'm claiming hero status.
All right. Like a martyr card, as Jim said earlier about me. Yeah.
Merry face. No, but the concussions are real. I mean, that's the thing is they didn't know what the hell the deal was. I mean, but again, we also don't know how bad his concussion even was. I mean, I know if he had the strokes and they didn't diagnose it, so who the hell knows?
Well, but I think it. Now, don't be so dramatic, Leonard. Jelly donut beer. Oh, can you bring that on yourself? Right?
Yeah,
I'll be hearing about it later, Leonard. From him, I'll be hearing about it.
I love how I get kicked left. It's fine. I probably myself.
Oh, hey, Laura. She says, "Chug it."
It's all my Lincoln mug because Lincoln didn't drink, but I put him in a mug, right?
There is a guy named Darren Thompson watching us right now, and he has the same spelling as your name.
Oh, okay. So his mother hated him too, huh? Cool. Okay, another one. So my name is spelled Darin because my mother loved a singer named Bobby Darin. And that's why it's spelled the way it is. And like she says to me all the time, you're lucky I didn't like Elvis. I could be Elvis, Mary.
Oh, God, Elvis Weeks.
Welcome to episode 17 of the podcast. This is Elvis Weeks, my co-host, the Dairy Queen of Kincardine.
Leonard, life's too short for shitty beer. Truth.
Hey, I got a bunch of going here. I got good beers here.
Tim mentions no one ever mentions PTSDs in these guys, which had to be rampant. Yeah, then they didn't know what it was, right? Like, do
you know who the first documented case of PTSD was in American military history?
Rufus Dawes.
Rufus Dawes. Good for you. You got a prize.
Ooh,
6 Wisconsin. So I don't know. You got I don't know. What do you want?
I don't know.
I always root for a career-ending injury. That's what I always root for when I win a prize.
Darren said it's exactly the same story with his name.
Seriously? Oh my God! Another one. He's my soul brother.
He is.
So Darren, you were named after Bobby Darin. Oh my God, there's two of us. See, you think that's a cross to bear, Mary? It actually is, but that's so funny. He's actually the second one.
Jim says at least you're not named Jimmy Dean.
I could do Jimmy Dean. I like Jimmy Dean. I'd be James Dean. That's I just couldn't drive in a sports car, but I'd be okay.
Allie K says, I was just thinking that too. PTSD is only barely started to be recognized in World War II. Yeah, that's one of those things. Like I said, it's not. World War I was when it really started to be recognized. I think that's what she said there. Allie K, I am the queen of bad grammar, so don't fucking worry about it. And I can't pronounce shit either. So, but anyway, yeah, PTSD is one of those things that, like Franklin, can't imagine how those soldiers were after that battle. And there was soldiers fighting at Franklin that had been at Marye's Heights. And they're saying, and Gettysburg, and they're saying, this is the worst I've ever seen.
I know that, you mentioned Franklin, obviously. It's funny, not funny, but we did Franklin or Fredericksburg back to back. And these are probably the two biggest, throw in Cold Harbor if you really want to go into the whole, butchery thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think, as you read this and when you read the books, there's some Fredericksburg books I have that I read to get ready for this podcast. And they all talk about the same thing. But when you read the memoirs of and you talk about some of the soldier quotes about the about Fredericksburg, it doesn't do justice to the shit they put up with. I mean,
No.
the story that we mentioned a little while ago that resonates with me is a story of the Union guys literally trying to tackle the soldiers from not going up the hill, the injured ones.
Yep.
I mean, think about that. I mean, they knew they were going to get cut down, so they're grabbing their legs. Don't go, don't go. I mean, that's just sad.
I had visions of that in my head when I was editing this last night and I got to that part. It sent chills down my spine. It was like when I was editing Franklin. Like there's some parts like, you know, for the most, like I mean I love editing, but there's like, it is actually, when you're editing a Civil War podcast, I've discovered it is an emotional experience, because you're hearing these stories. Like Franklin was incredibly emotional for me to edit, because I'm hearing the stories of the men, like how just what they witnessed, what they saw. There was a story I read one time where at the reunions.
Oh, real quick, I'm gonna say Greg's checking out. Greg, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time,
Greg.
Sorry.
I was reading a story one time about, you know, men who attended the reunions and stuff post Civil War, and they would all talk about the battles, and for the most part, like it was kind of like banter. But then someone would say, "I was at Shiloh," and the room would go silent, because that was really, you know, the first big one. But I wonder too, if someone said, "I was at Franklin," and and was a Confederate, if the room went silent.
Well, you see it. I mean, the movie Lincoln, that first scene, right,
Mm-hmm.
where the guy goes, "We were at Gettysburg," and the two black guys stop and go, "You guys were at Gettysburg?" Goes, no, we were at the speech.
Yeah.
But there are certain battles that resonated, right? And you know, we've said before, the Ken Burns series says the Civil War was fought in 10,000 places and all that stuff. But there are certain big ones, right? That I think if you were at and you survived, obviously Shiloh, Fredericksburg, Franklin, Gettysburg, Antietam, Cold Harbor, you know, Spotsylvania, you just run down the list.
Yeah.
There are certain ones that, I mean, some of these guys, you know, guys like, Elihu French, Rhode Island guy, Ben,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
he was at almost all of them, right? Sam Watkins, for, you know, 1st Tennessee, Company H, he was at all these.
Yeah.
The odds of surviving all these battles, to talk about it afterwards, it's just amazing. It's just, you know, and it's the soldiers for the most part. We talk about, you know, Burnside, and we talk about these dudes. They, you know, even Schofield at Franklin, they stayed at their headquarters for the most part, right?
Yeah, they did.
I mean, these dudes, these front line guys,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the hell with that. I mean, being told, like, you know, these, you know, Meagher's guys, Mary, the Irish Brigade, going up that hill, and all of them, oof, I mean, we're lucky we live when we do, I think, in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Because, and these guys weren't professional soldiers. These guys weren't, you know, these were all just regular dudes, farmers, and, you know, like you said before.
Yeah.
Right, so it's pretty brutal if you think about it. So.
But there are the generals, though, that put themselves out there in the line of fire to lead their men.
Sure,
you know, gets them
this
killed.
The Clayburns, the Strong Vincents, the Reynolds. By the way, now it's Treehouse time, so I'm redeemed now. Right?
Finally, God, thank Christ that's over.
I'm so supportive.
Jim says the country singer and Sausage King is who I'm named after. My parents couldn't just lie to me and tell me I was named after James Dean.
The Sausage King of Chicago. Your name's Abe Froman?
You got to watch that movie sometime, by the way.
It's a great movie.
Love that movie.
There, God.
But yeah, the whole, they stay back, and they're not there. But I think the generals still took on, for the most part. You know, they probably had anxiety. Like Howard doesn't sleep the night before, because he knows, like he's written in his memoirs, I'm sad at what I think is going to happen to my men. You know, these guys care about the soldiers, you know, and I can't imagine, you know, even Hooker, what he's going through when Burnside tells him to send his men in, and Hooker's like, I know, and Burnside's like, you're gonna fucking do it. Whereas he said to Sumner, you know, however many weeks before, no, we can't risk crossing because we might lose too many people.
Yeah, he obviously flipped. But again, Burnside, obviously, I'm not going to defend Burnside because he fucked this up all left and right. Mm-hmm. But he wasn't there. He didn't see it. But for some reason, he was ignoring the reports of his division, his commanders. But again, his whole plan was flawed by sending in one division at the beginning. Yep. And I don't know what the hell. Can you imagine Robert E. Lee being intimidated by troops and leaving?
Fuck off.
Right? No. I mean, again, this was early in the war. I mean, this is before Chancellorsville, obviously, Gettysburg, all this stuff. But again, Lee was in command from June 1st, 1862 on, so he'd only been in command about 5 or 6 months or so.
Yeah.
But he had a run of success, right? Pushed McClellan off the
Yeah.
peninsula, right? Obviously had success at Manassas. He had success. Gettysburg was, Antietam was arguable, but he didn't. He got his army out of there thanks to A.P. Hill, Mary, old red shirt gonorrhea boy himself.
Ham bone in the pocket.
Ham bone in the pocket. I think that's a metaphor, but that's okay.
Probably his mom gave it to him.
No,
Ooh.
I didn't know he was from Maine. Anyway, so, but again, his army had survived, but I think there was no basis in anything Lee had done to even hint that he was going to retreat in the face of a larger enemy. There was nothing. So again, Burnside's buried. I think he's buried in Rhode Island, right?
Yep.
I need to go have a heart-to-heart with old Ambrose and see what the hell he was thinking. I'll go back to my ghost hunting days again, which was also in Rhode Island, as a matter of fact, Mary.
Yeah, you want to go do some ghost hunting, go to that cemetery in Ohio where Hooker's buried.
Yeah. He should be buried here, by the way. He's not buried in Massachusetts. But
His has been my favorite general's grave that I've visited so far.
I'm excited next summer to go check out the I've been to Arlington a bunch of times, but I've never seen Gibbon or Double. I've seen Doubledays, actually. I saw Doubledays, but I definitely want to go see some of the Civil War ones. So I'll send you some pictures with my cigar.
Thanks. You should video me when you're there so I can experience
it. Definitely. I know you've been there before,
Yeah, I love Arlington. I love wandering around there. Allie B says Albert Sidney Johnston was up front, and look what happened to him. It's too risky having the head of your army too close, but they had to be aware of things going on, and also easy to find so they could get message and such. Yeah, like people criticize Albert Sidney Johnston where he was, but he was where he felt he needed to be. It's kind of like people criticize Howard at Gettysburg, for like basically saying like, oh, he didn't know what was going on, or he just stayed on cemetery. Well, he had to stay where people could find him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
What are you looking at? What are you doing? Are you frozen again?
I think I was frozen.
Fucker.
I just wanted to see you freak out again, because when I watched the video of when I got frozen, the look of fear in your face, like a squirrel on the highway, was awesome.
I fully admit to I'm very I'm extroverted, but my God, when I was on there alone, I was like, oh my God, are you
frozen? And I was like, I can't keep it together anymore. I tried, but anyway. But again, we talked before about a lot of this stuff. Just those dead eyes staring at you. Oh, Allie. Dead eyes like a doll's eyes.
What Jen's replying? Okay, did Lee push McClellan off the peninsula, and Tim McClellan pushed himself off the peninsula? Wasn't Mac still there when Lee headed north? That's what Jonathan asked.
When he's headed. Well, he wasn't, but he was put in charge when he went north. He got it was Pope who got bit. Well, what they basically did was they took McClellan's army away from him, right? Yeah. And they put him in Washington D.C. and John Pope had come with his army, and they basically merged the AOP in, and then he got pantsed pretty hard at Second Manassas, and they put McClellan back in.
Yeah.
So yes and no. So I think we need a Photoshop showing how that happened. Yeah. Good. That's good. I can't believe I did that. It was such a thing.
Allie K said, I just found out the cemetery a few miles from me is the oldest in Minneapolis. They stopped accepting new graves in 1919. Supposedly a lot of Civil War graves, but they're closed over the winter. I'm going to go by and see if I can find a way in though. Yes, Allie K, do it. Take some pictures.
Well, you know what? It's funny. I went to go see Armistead's grave in Baltimore last year, Mary, and it's locked up. You can't get over. You can't.
Where's Trimble buried again? Because that's the one.
He's buried at Mount Olivet, Baltimore. John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah. Well, we got to go.
Not far away.
Got to go see that grave, and we got to go. I want to go see Trimble.
You know what's about Trimble, which is weird? His grave is covered with it was at the time. I don't know why. A big plexi plastic shield covering it. Mm-hmm. I don't.
That picture of it is weird.
And the lights reflect, but I'll say that cemetery in Baltimore, that one and the one in Boston, in Cambridge, are the two most beautiful cemeteries I've ever been in my entire life, and it's in a really shitty part of Baltimore. I mean, it's no picnic, but they have these big walls that cover it. All I can think about The Walking Dead, if the zombies attack, you want to be in that cemetery because the walls would keep everything out. It's like 20-foot stone walls with barbed
Wow.
wire. Yeah, but it's really cool though. But yeah, he's buried there with Booth.
Yeah.
Or is Booth buried there, Mary? We don't know after watching
I
that
don't know. After
show.
watching that show on Saturday night, God, what a. I mean, I'm so happy we watched it to see that side of history, but holy fuck, people are crazy.
I'm gonna tweet at Dave Taylor and say, Dave, I think he's right. I think he lived. He went to Enid, Oklahoma. That's why I'm.
Yeah, let's start messing with Taylor.
And you can see his eye going like this.
Poor Taylor.
He's a good dude. We got to get him on. I don't think he's on Facebook though. I think it's surprise.
No, he's not. He's not. Because I asked him a few years ago, I'm like, hey, on Facebook, because I'm friends with his wife on Facebook. I'm like, hey.
Okay.
So yeah, no, we definitely got to have Taylor on. We should have had him on to talk about that show. You know, that would have been cool. Ryan, plexiglass is all that's between us and the South rising again.
That's probably why they did it, actually.
Yep. This guy has potential to be a zombie. This Trimble guy, we got to make sure he's buried well.
Give me a regiment of armies, I'll take that hill. Give me a company of zombies, I'll take that hill.
If you give me shit for a year, you're always like, why Trimble?
Yeah, well, I get the Howard thing. I get it, okay, because he looks like David Hasselhoff. I get it, okay. But I don't get the Trimble one.
Okay,
like, I don't get it.
Could you Photoshop? Could you do Baitwatch Howard, please?
The things I do for you.
That has to happen now. Dude, Trimble, as I said before, my interest was sparked in him because he's at he's at Johnson's Island, and his reasons for being there are because he knew railways. And Simon Cameron Lincoln and said, you got to lock that guy up. Like he's dangerous. But two, and Andrea Pike raised this point last week. You never hear about Pettigrew or Trimble, and they're involved in Pickett's charge as well. And that almost seems unfair. But Trimble turns out was a very interesting guy. You know, he's sitting in a hospital bed. Like he wanted command. So Jackson's like, you should give this guy command, but then shits all over him in the same letter. So Trimble's in bed, like laid up from like lost a leg, right?
Lost a leg.
Yeah. And he's laid up from that, recovering. He's writing people saying like, I need this command, Jackson's wrong. And then he's like, trying to defend himself against Jeb Stuart and all that. And then he gets shot at Gettysburg. And he said if they hadn't taken my leg, and no, he didn't lose his leg. He lost after Gettysburg. What is so funny?
Oh God! Don't worry, you're gonna get your goddamn Baywatch Photoshop. Don't worry, you'll get it today, Mary.
Liza, don't hassle the hassle Howard.
I could take the a raft and stick it on his arm or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Tim said this has been going on for an hour and a half, and Week still hasn't sung Simple Minds.
Tim, Mary's a singer in this relationship. I'm the dancer. She's the singer. You got to hear her sing. Trust me, about 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, you get those ones. Trust me when I tell you.
Don't you forget about me. Yeah, that's all anybody needs to hear.
Oh, wow. It sounds better. It sounds better with 30 beers behind you, but that's another story.
Ryan said, if they can do Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies, Ted Turner can do Gods, Generals, and Zombies.
We had that.
Zombie. You may even think I am a zombie, but I challenge the man who suggests Robert E. Lee is a zombie.
Well, they did have the Abraham Lincoln zombie, vampire kill. That was sort of zombie.
They've got Abraham Lincoln and Zombies as well. That's a movie.
Oh, really?
Yes. My mother was texting me one night. She's like, I'm watching Abraham Lincoln and Zombies. It's very weird. And then I said, did you keep watching it? And she's like, yeah, it was weird. And I'm like, okay, why did you keep watching it?
I didn't see Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. I saw that. I was like, no, God, you're not watching that.
Oh, yeah, it was made into a movie, wasn't it? I didn't watch it either.
It was a couple summers ago, I think it was.
Jen likes Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. Paul says, try to sell the Baywatch Howard poster.
Oh, I can imagine that,
You've got to make sure it's got a half moon on the surfboard.
There's a pretty good chance you're going to be in that meme, by the way, just so you know.
Don't make me Pamela Anderson.
Remember that picture you sent me with the hoodie like this?
Yeah. You've used that a million times.
Oh, God, the stuff you do.
They filmed Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies is a classic. They filmed it at Fort
Pulaski.
Pulaski.
Yeah.
I'd have to watch.
It's one of those. There's one of those 3-syllable words, Mary. I'll help you with those.
Yeah, I know. I need help the hard words.
Yeah, definitely. But about Fredericksburg.
These are so much fun, though.
Oh, they are.
A
They
lot of
are.
fun
It
with
is.
everybody.
It is pretty funny though. But no, it's I don't know. I guess I guess I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think I'm thinking of the cemeteries. What Swan Point. I have heard that about Rhode Island, Ben. I have heard that one about that one. I've been at so many Rhode Island cemeteries in my life. God, I've spent way too much time in Rhode Island cemeteries, for God's sakes. But I think I've been in that one before,
I
actually.
love going to cemeteries. I should take you to the one in Goddard sometime. Wander around
They're
there.
dying to get in, Mary.
They are. There is actually a Lincoln assassination connection with the not Lincoln assassination. No, it's Jeff Davis connection with the cemetery in Goderich.
Hey, I was going to ask you. Speaking of Arlington, I assume you went to see Edward Doherty's grave, right?
No, I have not seen it.
Oh, you haven't? Oh,
No.
I'm going to be there first then, because I'm going to make sure I get a picture of that one. I'm going to bring my Canadian T-shirt for that one, Mary.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Edward Doherty is a Canadian who is buried in Arlington, and he led the cavalry that found John Wilkes Booth.
Lincoln's Avengers, 16th New York.
Yep, and hey, a Canadian killed Jeb Stuart as well.
Well,
Something I'm
good
very
for something, I suppose.
Yeah, Bence's Swan Point is in Providence. Ballou and Slocum and Rhodes are buried there. I would like to go there.
Yeah, Shijanovsky did serve under Howard.
Yeah,
he did. He was part of the von Steinwehr, Shijanovsky, that whole thing.
yeah, and there was one of them that really threw Howard under the bus after Chancellorsville.
Which one
of the guys that was in the 11th Corps. Von Gilsa did not like Howard.
No, a lot of his guys did. That was still part of the whole Siegel thing. So Jen's got to run, literally and figuratively. So we will catch up with her down the road. Jen, again, happy
tasting.
Oh, there you go. Well, I hope you're enjoying your birthday weekend, Jen. You are the best. Have a great day. We'll talk to you on the other side.
Ryan Weeks doesn't look like a goth, but he does spend a lot of time in graveyards smoking.
Way too much time in graveyards. Way too much time. But I enjoy that though. I love going to cemeteries. But this goes back to my ghost hunting thing. That's a different story.
Well, I've always loved going to cemeteries. We would I'm kind of the caretaker of my grandparents' grave, and I go out there and I will end up walking around, looking at the old graves that are out there. Who did Von Gilsa? That's true.
I don't think he had a problem with Adelbert Ames, though.
No.
I don't think he did. He didn't bad. I didn't really think he bashed him. Barlow, maybe? I don't know. Probably.
Barlow. I love Barlow.
I
bought a red plaid shirt last weekend at Bayfield Brewing Company. I showed it to you. And yes, I plan on wearing it every single Monday because that's when I have meetings. Just
Shijanovsky's at Arlington. I didn't know that.
Really?
Jonathan, that's good. All right. Well, I've got a list of graves. I said before, I think before you jumped on.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there next August as part of my one of my 5 Gettysburg trips a year. But we're going to spend a couple of days in Washington, at least with D anyway.
Yeah. So I'm going to go. I definitely have to go to Washington and do Arlington sometime.
Oh, there's no question. But this one, I'm going to go. I have a list of guys I want to go visit at Arlington. I didn't realize Shijanovsky was buried. That's good. Good on you, Jonathan. Good on you.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
His listeners are awesome.
Yeah,
it's a really great group.
Mm-hmm.
We're very lucky to have them. Was a 48 or 2? Wheaton is at Arlington.
Oh
God, no.
I'm gonna. Is he? Really? Okay.
Wow.
Well, I will. Oh God, I'm gonna be doing pictures of these guys all day. I'll have fun with that one, Mary.
Wow.
I may have to do that. I may have to do this one in front of it.
You should. Oh yeah. Make sure you wear your cappy with the moon on it too. When you take that.
Oh, I wear that everywhere else.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I definitely want to go see Shijanovsky then if he's at Arlington. Ryan said, I wish Von Gilsa had memoirs. You can tell he'd continue to use swear words as punctuation. That's right. The one thing about Von Gilsa, he could swear in 3 different languages.
So could Pettigrew. 7 different languages.
Yeah. Jeez. These guys, one of the things I love is finding out how they spoke, like that they swore. Like Andrew Humphreys was apparently, he was something else when it came to speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey Ben, I assume I didn't know that about Wheaton, but I'm gonna go check that out. And honest to God, I will. I appreciate you saying that because I will definitely go find his grave for you. I'll definitely do a picture. So I like to do cigar pictures. And see, if I like the guy, I do a cigar picture. If I don't put a cigar. Right. So he's probably cigar worthy. I think he probably would. Maybe that
I'm doing
1840.
a cigar at Howard's grave.
Maybe that bourbon we talked about last night, Ben. We can maybe fire that up a little bit too. We'll see.
Jim says, I love cemeteries too. I've told coworkers that in the 19th and early 20th century, they were intended to be city parks and people would have family picnics in them.
There's a question we had before about the cavalry, the spike things.
Yeah.
We saw one of those in down my neck of the woods.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is always pretty cool. That was in Barnstable.
That's right. That's when we went to Barnstable.
Yeah, definitely. But it was pretty cool. So I'll totally do that though. But if we give Ben shit about Frank Wheaton because he's got this weird obsession with him. But I will definitely do a cigar pick. He is cigar worthy. So I will do that. Yeah. I will definitely do that. You know.
Yeah. We got to go see Howard in Vermont sometime too.
Oh God! I'll have to hose you down. I'll have to let you have a friggin' moment on that one. You know, I'll wait in the car. I'll look this way. You know. Yeah. Although you know something, I really enjoyed like one of my the three favorite graves I've found. Well, one is obviously Mary Surratt in Washington.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite one because it's hard to find. And what's funny is if you ask where it is, they won't tell you there. You have to find it. Thank God for the findagrave.com website.
Oh yeah, that's how I found Gibbon. I put the coordinates into my GPS on my phone.
Yeah.
And then I ended up running up the hill.
And then obviously Gouverneur Warren, speaking of Rhode Island, Ben, his one's hard to find. And I'm trying to think of the third one. It's tough. It's tough to say who the other ones were. They're really cool. Probably Lizzie Borden, believe it or not.
Yeah, I would love to see all these graves. And like I know, like my favorite grave that I visited, said this before, has been Hooker, because it had there was a lot of positive energy at it. But it was just amazing to see him. It was after I'd done those episodes for Rail Splitter and I was seeing him in a new light, and it was just good to see him. I love seeing Gibbon's grave it's quite like it's average size grave.
I missed that opportunity. I was in Cincinnati about almost exactly a year ago today, and I missed that opportunity.
Well, we're going to go to Cincinnati because that's where, so we can go see Hooker and we can also go see Lytle.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Yep.
It's a Patriot thing. But that's pretty cool. Lizzie Borden grave house. Yes, John, Ben, I actually spent the night at the Lizzie Borden house one time, which is really, really cool. And what you can do is they have the same couch that her father was killed on. You can lay on the couch.
Oh my God.
And they have a rubber axe where you can pose like with someone hitting you with the axe, and they'll take a picture of you. You can pay for like $9.95. You can Viva la Cam. But you know what's really cool on there? What we did was this was part of the ghost shit, right? So we had if you go in the basement, we had one of those lights that shows blood.
Yeah.
You could shine it on the ceiling. Mm-hmm. See, what happened was that they said the killer, had basically drenched but it's, if you go right above where that couch is where he was killed, you could spray that light.
Yeah.
And the light you spray on like the hotel room bed, that whole thing, it shows. But you can spray it on the ceiling. You can see the blood stains on the ceiling from right under the couch from his blood. It's still there.
Oh my, that's crazy.
That's
I would love to go sometime. Ben, actually, he's bringing it back to Fredericksburg here. He said Wheaton got his star officially right before Fredericksburg, but it wasn't till during the battle that the rank was presented to him and he got his brigade. Interesting. Yep. That's cool. Interesting.
I didn't know about Shizanovsky at Arlington or Wheaton. It kind of blows my mind a little bit, Accidents for no job.
Paul's great with the puns.
So I got to tell that cigar story again. I got to do it.
Oh yeah, your cigar story.
So it was one day I was obsessed with going to find Lizzie Borden's grave. So I'm like, there was one day I was off from work. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna go find it. So I jumped in the car by myself. I drove down to Rhode Island in Fall River, Mass, where she's buried, and I found her grave. And it's just a basic grave, whatever. But so I had a cigar and I took a picture. She's probably not cigar worthy, but I had it anyway. I felt like a cigar. So as I was finishing it, I took my picture, and an ash hit my finger, and I dropped the cigar. I just dropped it, right? So, but it rolled like under this thing, which was right next to it. I had to reach under and get it. So I had to go on my knees to get the cigar. So I go on my knees in front of this gravestone of Lizzie Borden at the very moment a family walks behind me, and they think I'm praying to her gravestone. And I was getting my cigar. I'm like,
I can just picture you.
so it was so bad though.
That was one of the first stories you told me when we started hanging out in May. Like you sent me the picture and then you told me the story.
I drove to Rhode Island back to, I probably screwed that up, but yeah, I drove down to Fall River, which is whatever. It's not far from Rhode Island, Ben, right over the Braga Bridge, not far away.
You doing that with the cigar, that's hilarious.
That was mortifying. I was like, no! It was like that nose pick episode in Seinfeld. It was a scratch, it wasn't a pick. They must have thought I was the creepiest, but whatever.
You're there praying to Lizzie Borden's grave or worshiping her or something.
Yeah, by myself, in the middle of the afternoon, like a Tuesday. Her house is pretty cool though, and a house. See, there's really two Borden houses. The house that she's accused of killing.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure she did it. By the way, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not sure she did it. But the house she actually lived in after her trial, because she was found not guilty.
Yeah,
that house actually just went up for sale, Mary.
Ooh.
It was $800,000. You could buy it. You could live in the Lizzie Borden house where she lived afterwards.
Wow,
that's pretty cool. I think the actual house, which is a bed and breakfast now, and it's a museum, that'd be the one to own. But Fall River is no picnic, though. That's not the place you want to live in. Not the place to raise a family. I'll tell you that.
Oh, no, thank you.
You know,
dream would be living in Gettysburg.
Oh, that's going to happen. No question about that. But it's close. I mean, it's Providence. It's look, Ben. Once you get to Fall River, it's basically Rhode Island. I mean, you go through Swansea and you go through Seekonk, and then it's Rhode Island, Rehoboth. It's the same thing. Nothing good's over the Braga Bridge, Ben. You know that. But I'm just teasing. But no, but it's pretty cool though. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I love doing stuff like that for sure. Bringing it back to
I was going to say, you know who would have loved Fall River? Burnside.
Where's he buried?
He's buried in Rhode Island somewhere.
Oh, that's right too. Yeah, that's right too.
I mean, Ben, if you know the exact cemetery, jump in because yeah, you could have Fall River, Ben. It's all yours. But no, he's one I got. I want to visit his, and I want to visit Butler's up in Lowell, in equally craptastic Massachusetts City, by the way. But I want to go up there and visit that one because there's some good ones around here. You know, within probably an hour. Gouverneur K. Warren in Newport's a great.
I was just thinking I want to go see Gouverneur K. Warren for sure.
You know,
like Gouverneur K. Warren, Howard. I need to get to see Sherman. Like I love visiting their graves because it's just, I don't know. It's like you're finally able to pay your respects to them, right?
Well, I mean, we absolutely. It's great to find them because you know what? Because truth be told, very few people visit them. I guarantee you. I mean, I was probably the first person to go visit Island Cemetery in Newport, where Gouverneur was buried. It's a huge cemetery. It's huge. It's very tough to find his grave. It's very nondescript. It's one of those lower ones. It's not raised. It's just a flat ground thing. But this, you know, we talked about all the ones I want to visit. There's a lot of good ones around here. I mean, obviously, one of my favorite ones was Chamberlain up in Brunswick.
Yeah, we got to get up there sometime to see him.
That's a cool one. I mean, but yet another one that's tough to find. Another one's tough to find.
Chamberlain at Fredericksburg, bringing it back. His experience.
Look at you.
Hey, I told you I'm trying to do what I promised.
Oh God, that's Sunday morning conversation last week. Oof. Viva the treehouse, Mayor.
Yeah. Viva the flying monkeys.
Oh yeah.
Raspberry lager. Allie said I've been wanting to go to Laurel Cemetery to go to Meads and Charles F. Smith's grave. Yeah, I want to get to see Mead as well. Ben Segway Sally over here.
Yeah, yeah. Ryan, Phil Carney is at Arlington. He's another one. So you got Carney, you've got Doherty, you've always got Gibbon, you got Doubleday, Sheridan. Yeah. You got a lot of them. You know, speaking of West Point, Mary, who's going to beat Army today, beat Navy today rather. Fuck. But I didn't get a chance to go to the cemetery, and I missed that because it's
Oh.
just I just did. I was too busy tailgating for a football game,
Well,
unfortunately.
we'll get to West Point Cemetery. We'll go see
West Point,
Buford.
that man, but wow,
Buford.
West Point is beautiful though. That campus, oh my God, is that
Yeah.
sweet?
I've always wanted to visit there, and I definitely want to get to the cemetery because that's where Buford's buried there, and who else is
Kilpatrick,
buried? Kilpatrick, that's
Alonzo
right.
Cushing
Yeah,
was buried there. There's a lot of like guys like Norman Schwarzkopf
yeah.
buried there. There's a lot of military dudes who are buried there. Go Navy. You're like, nah, Navy, come on.
Jeez. And anyway, yeah, as I was saying, Chamberlain's experience that night at, laying on the field and how he's having to cover himself with men and all that. And, some of them were rifling through the bodies and they found out, like, they could see he's like, hey, what are you doing? Like, I'm alive. And he can hear the bullets hitting the bodies that he's covered with. Like, that just,
That's brutal.
God, that, you can't imagine. I can't even imagine that. He was one of the last to go in, right? The 20th was,
they were one of the last ones to go in.
Yeah. So who was his command? Like, who was he under?
Chamberlain?
Yeah.
He would have been under, I don't think, which one?
CLK.
That's a good question, because the problem is they had these grand divisions. They're all mixed up a little bit.
The grand division thing is weird.
It was basically corps.
Mm.
I think he probably realistically would have probably been under. He would have been under Hooker. He would have been in the center division because they were the last ones to go in.
Yeah, that's right.
So he probably. My guess, I'm just winging this because it was probably Bernie, but he would have been under Hooker's Central Grand Division. There's no question about it. But I could be totally wrong. Jonathan, thanks for stopping by. Always a good time.
Yep. See you Wednesday, and LAK too. We'll see you both Wednesday.
LA go Gophers, right? You guys got a big game against somebody
Gophers.
today. I think a football. Michigan would have been Ohio State. We talked about the Big Ten, but that's cool. That's cool. Bet about the Navy. Navy's cool. I've always just liked Army.
Yeah. Well, Ryan just said, when are you doing the Civil War navies? The Europeans, though, developments in naval warfare were the most important, interesting bits of the Civil War. Yeah, and there's like the Navy sometimes I think gets underplayed in the Civil War, and I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about it. We're planning on doing episodes about it with Vic.
Well, we talked. Someone mentioned. I think it might have been Jim Miller. Actually, somebody mentioned either on Facebook or Twitter about Navy books for the Civil War. I mentioned that Union Jack's book, which is pretty good. It doesn't speak well of the soldiers, the sailors. It makes them all look like morons. But it's unfortunately just with the spin of the writer. But that's a pretty good one. But we should do one on Porter, and we should do one on Farragut. We should do one on these guys in Foote and these guys, because it's a good story to talk about.
We're going to be talking about Vicksburg, so like the Navy definitely played a huge role in that. It's something that gets underplayed. Jim said, didn't Chamberlain see the Aurora Borealis at Fredericksburg? He did. Yeah, I think he was one of the ones that saw it, it's really interesting. The Aurora Borealis is visible this year in southwestern Ontario. So
it's actually, they said here too. It was on the news last night.
I'm wondering if it's at the same positioning it was when Fredericksburg happened. Wouldn't that be eerie?
Ooh, that would be cool, actually, in the anniversary. That would actually be legit cool.
Yeah, because it's around the anniversary. Like, we're on the anniversary today. Today's the day they didn't really do things.
I was so close to Fredericksburg last year, and we didn't go.
I know.
That's where John Wilkes Booth was killed at Garrett Farm is probably 20 minutes away from Fredericksburg, and the people I was didn't want to go, and
that sucks.
It you think? Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. Yeah, it does.
Leonard said today's the anniversary of the sinking of the USS Cairo.
I thought it was Cairo.
Here we go.
I know. Yeah, so it is something though. But it's that I love that Ed Bear story, by the way. Finding the Cairo.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
cool. Sweet.
That is really cool. Yeah, we'll get out to Vicksburg sometime for sure. We can hang out with Leonard.
Yeah, we promised Leonard we go to Vicksburg sometime. Let's take the road show to Vicksburg sometime.
Yep.
Vicksburg would be cool. Mississippi, I could live it. Take or leave Mississippi, but I think that would be a pretty cool. I've never been in the state of Mississippi. I've never been in Mississippi. I've never been in Alabama.
Neither. I've been to Alabama, but I've never been to Mississippi.
Yeah. So go to Alabama.
Jim says it wasn't him that made the comment, but I do have a few books on the Navy. I think you would need to do 2 episodes on the Navy, one on the blockade and the second on the Brown Water Navy. Yeah, there's probably a lot we can do with the Navy.
The Anaconda. We could talk about that.
Ironclads.
Oh, Hampton Roads and all that. That's a good one. We could talk about the Hunley, right?
That's an interesting story.
Something like that, which I've seen the Hunley Mary in Charleston. I've seen that.
Yeah, I've not seen it.
That's a, I mean, it's what it
I'd
is.
love to see it.
Yeah, Earl Van Dorn, William Barksdale.
Was it Leonard that said last week that Earl Van Dorn needs to be played by Matthew McConaughey, and he could say like,
Oh.
"All right, all right, all right,
All right. Earl Van Dorn. And
And John S. Bone's the
Barksdale.
real Stonewall of the West. No, I'm going to disagree with you. The Stonewall of the West was
Ooh.
Claiborne. No.
Yeah, well, that was like a 2 seconds of response for him. That took no time at all. But we saw the original Barksdale Grave Mary at the Hummelbaugh House at Gettysburg. We saw that last summer.
That's cool. Barksdale was at, he was one of the ones firing at those men that went across on the pontoons. His Mississippians.
Big Freemason too, Mayor.
Oh, was he?
He was. He had Freemason buttons at Gettysburg. Very cool.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Just on the guy who helps run the world.
Yep.
The secrets I know. I know what's on the back of the Declaration of Independence, Mary. Trust me, I know.
Forget what I was going to say now. Something about Frederick. Oh yeah. So when they decided to finally, get over there in the boats to stop these sharp Barksdale's Mississippians, it was actually Howard's men.
By definition, it certainly was. It absolutely was. But again, that's. But the thing when we this Fredericksburg thing we talked about was just the overall missed opportunity that they had with this,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
We've talked about it a million times now, but just if Sumner had gone across, and they'd attack, I'm not sure how they would have done. But don't forget Burnside was afraid that the weather was going to change, and they were going to get stuck. Which is funny how he values life differently at different points.
Yeah.
But he just needed one of those weather apps on his phone, right?
Look ahead to see what's coming.
See what's coming.
Radar.
Definitely. Well, they did. They did look at weather. I mean, they were able to. They were able to get an idea of the weather potentially, but they had some different ways. There's no way to tell. Like they didn't. It was so funny if you look at weather. A friend of mine's a meteorologist, and they didn't understand at that point how weather traveled. Like storms would start in Texas and float up to New England. They thought it was just specific to the area. They didn't realize it was going to rain in Pennsylvania. It was going to rain in Massachusetts probably by the next day. They didn't get that. They just thought it was very spontaneous. And one of the best weather reports at a battle was at Gettysburg. There was that professor at Gettysburg College who was able to write down the weather. That's how they know the weather at Gettysburg. Neither here nor there.
Well, you're reading Southern Storm. I really found it fascinating how Trudeau mentions the weather. That says that the soldiers talked about it and how different the weather could be, from one end of the march to the other.
Yeah, I mean, and this is basically that time now where December 10th is roughly when he got into the outskirts of Savannah. And by the 20th, they yodeled the fuck out of there. The Confederates, they got the hell out.
Fuck this.
Yeah, the 21st was the whole captured Atlanta date. And there was a lot of, but this is kind of that time. And I think somebody made a picture about that and put it on our Facebook page, Mary.
They did.
I think someone did.
Maybe you weeks.
It wasn't Hasselhoff, but it was good enough, I guess. Hasselhoward.
Amelia says Fredericksburg is one of the ones I've been to, and it's great. Very nice cemetery. Pennsylvania Mine, prominent, of course. Heights View, Sunken Road, etc. The little downtown is nice too. Cocktails and food. Yeah, we definitely want to get to Fredericksburg. And I have heard too, Amelia, that it's not like one of the better preserved battlefields, but you can still see stuff there. And I know John Heckman has been there as well.
Hi Amelia, by the way. Do they still have? I mean, they used to have a big cement block right downtown Fredericksburg where the slaves had to stand when they were sold. I don't know if they've gotten rid of that yet, but I remember as recently as 5 or so years ago, they still had it. It was right downtown. It was like a slave block. I was curious if they still had that.
I'm not sure. I know Nick from Real Splitter was there recently because he talked about it on our Fredericksburg episodes, what it was like. He said that's so much that day because there's a lot of walking there. Paul's jumping off because of his internet, but he will see us Wednesday. Sounds good.
That's right. Hey, Paul, thanks for coming by. We'll see you on Wednesday. Very cool. Very cool. But yeah, Fredericksburg is one of the ones I got to get to. It's one of the ones I kick myself that we just didn't freaking stupid. But yeah.
We'll do the Civil War Breakfast Club tour to Fredericksburg.
Definitely. You know, he says, I believe it was moved to the museum of. Okay, that makes sense. I figured that. I would imagine with everything going on with the statues, they'd
Yeah.
have moved that. But I remember I've seen a picture of that it wasn't that long ago, so that's probably a smart thing to do actually. But
Well, the interesting thing about Fredericksburg is they, you know, obviously they're southern city, you know, secessionist, whatever. But the interesting story I read about it was just that when Reynolds was there and he was occupying the town, they said that he treated them very well and they had a lot of respect for him. So then when Reynolds was being held as a prisoner, it was the people of Fredericksburg that helped. They petitioned to have him released because he had treated them so kindly, which is, you know, I
yeah,
wonder if
it
I wonder
makes
if
sense.
Reynolds, when the looting was going on, he was like, "Oh fuck, guys, don't fuck this up, don't loot," you know.
I mean, you talk about the looting at Fredericksburg. You got to talk about the looting and the destruction of Atlanta and the market.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
there's so much of it that went on both sides too. And it just it's one of those things. But I think though that at Fredericksburg it was like the Union got there and they were just like, fuck these guys for what they've done, right? You know?
Well, I mean, it was a big deal in the South. I mean, Lee in the South never got over the looting. It. They did a lot of that though. I mean, you know, you talk about the 54th Mass. You know, Robert Gould Shaw when they were doing their thing.
Yeah.
In South Carolina, the looting they did, stealing. They would go into looking for silver in the ground. They were digging up bodies, and I mean, just the shit that was good. It's just a bad time. It just was. But you got to look at both sides of it. And these guys were, you know, they. Like I said, it was a different time, fortunately, let's say at least, you know.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, like just you read Howard's account of it and he's downplaying it, and then you read someone else that said this is the most shameful thing we've ever done.
I think I believe this, like I said in the podcast, I believe the Southern spin on this one.
Howard just acts like he's just like, there was some looting and men got into the wine, as they will do, and it's almost like he's like brushing it aside. But you know, the thing is it would have been his men first doing that. I just realized that it would have been his men in there first doing that looting. Those Michigan, Mass, and New York guys.
Yeah, 19th to 20th. Right.
Somehow
you forgot the 20th when you talked about you forgot the Harvard Regiment, Mary. You know, that's okay.
Well, excuse me.
Right in my ear. That was good.
I'm so sorry.
Way to blow your nose around. It's okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm not feeling that great today.
Yeah, I know. That's what happens. You drink tequila, but it's okay. I'm kidding. You had a migraine. I know.
Hey, Fritz.
Oh, look who's on. Fritz is on. Fritz was giving me shit, Mary, about the Patriots this morning on Facebook, by the way. You know, just because I've kind of tuned them out for the rest of the year, like most people have, and focus on my beloved hockey team, but that's okay. That's okay.
Hey, you're going to cheer for the Packers, though, like I am, right?
I am. I'm going to be the Packers the rest of the year, I think.
Jay Price will be very, very happy with that.
Yeah, so once they're mathematically eliminated, which should be any moment now, that game was disappointing. You can see it coming, though. It's disappointing, but
it was. But yeah, it's reading the comments. Your listeners are hilarious.
No, it is. Sometimes I just don't know what's going on. But no. But again, I think, you know, when we talk more about, because we'll expand on this Fredericksburg campaign in future podcasts, obviously, because I mean, there's not a lot of talk about the Mud March. Just, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we talk about the you know, the moving on from, you know, from Burnside to ultimately to Hooker and to move on to Meade. You could talk about the different dynamics between the two. I just think that going right from him to Hooker proved, in my mind anyway, and there's nothing going on in my head, trust me, it just goes to show that Lincoln probably regretted not putting Hooker in.
I think he probably did.
You know, and he just, for whatever reason, and you know why, is because he hates to joke about it though, but the whole Bang Barn thing.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, he did have his, oh, am I keeping you up?
Jeez, I have a migraine right now.
Yeah, we talk about that. But I mean,
on anybody.
I know. Me probably, but that's okay. But I mean, but for real though, but you talk about how he had his his Hooker's brigade of women. I mean, this is real. I mean, that's exactly what happened. He probably didn't want to deal with it. I mean, but Hooker's brigade. I love the fact. I mean, he doesn't get credit for the name Hooker, but it's what really defines him. I mean,
I know, which is
it's
unfortunate because he's got like, I mean, for who he was, he does have a lot of good points. Like he organizes the shit out of the Army of the Potomac. You know, he's pretty capable commander. Like not when he's obviously commanding an army, but you know, lower he is. Now who knows what would have happened had he not got concussed.
yeah, that's tough to say. And Tim, yeah, we agree that the Union win the Civil War is a big deal. It obviously was, you know,
Yeah.
but and what we said before, Mary, is we're lucky that it was fought when it was fought,
Yep.
right? Because it was simmering. If that 50 years later, you would have had some horrific weapons they could have used,
I
chemical
know.
weapons,
Yeah. Could you
airplanes
imagine a
even.
Sherman with a Sherman tank?
Well, well, he wouldn't have been around. I think Sherman
I
would have
know,
made
but
it,
still.
you know. But you know, but I think, but it's as brutal as it was. You know, the weapons
Yeah.
was further along than the strategies, the tactics of the time. But if that had gone on for a little while longer, that would have been brutal.
Oh yeah, it absolutely would have.
But hanging with Hooker would have been a lot of fun. I bet you he'd have been a fun guy to
I
hang
think
with.
he would have been a really fun guy to hang out with. He would have been like a loud, arrogant bastard, but still, you know, probably a lot of fun. Imagine being at the Bang Barn.
Well, Allie loves those pictures, by the way. You know,
Oh yeah,
and she has,
Hooker
and you know what?
smiling
She hasn't commented about the one we did this morning
with
about
the
the.
kisses all over him.
Yeah, that was for
That was
you, Allie. Yeah,
hilarious. That was
yeah.
hilarious.
She hasn't made a comment about that yet. That was a good one. You know.
And yet, like Hooker wrote a letter, or Hooker Lincoln wrote a letter to Hooker when he gave him command, and it was like a son or a father talking to a son, saying, "I know your reputation, but I'm putting a lot of trust in you." You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan says, poor Hooker not blessed in the namesakes. You still see the myth that hookers are named after him, but the name was already, already in use by the Civil
I mean,
War.
it was, but I think he kind of that whole experience he had was it just energized it. So it wasn't named the Hooker thing wasn't named for him,
Yeah,
but he did live up to it by just by coincidence his name was, and so
yeah,
it just kind of spurred. I wonder if the Hooker phrase would have gone away if not for without for Joe Hooker though,
yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah.
If they would, I mean, because you still harlots and all the shit they used to call him,
God.
you know what I mean?
Bang
Um,
Barn.
but you know, but I think that he did continue that along a little bit. Allie hasn't
Allie's
seen
gonna
it
go.
yet. Well, that picture was made specifically for you and mine, so I hope you
Yeah,
enjoyed that one.
that's why Weeks did that.
Yeah, definitely. But no, but he's a guy. I mean, you can't argue it. And his plan at Chancellorsville was not a bad plan.
Yeah.
It just wasn't executed well. He just backed off for whatever reason. He backed off. I think he would have obviously much better at Fredericksburg if they chose to fight there.
Yeah.
If that's what he would have done. And I think personally he would have gone at Lee directly at Warrenton. I think he would have taken Lincoln's advice.
Yeah.
And I'm just basing it just on complete speculation, just my guess. But I think his plan, Burnside's plan of Fredericksburg was such a failure from beginning that nobody could ever expect that except him.
Yeah.
That it would actually work.
Exactly. Yeah. But like, you know, Lincoln kept emphasizing the speed factor. Like, this looks good, but you got to do it quick because it's risky.
Well, the whole thing was based on speed. He had that's what's so stupid about it. So he had to stay ahead. He had to keep Lee between away. He didn't want Lee to get between him and Richmond. He wanted to stay ahead of him. So it was all based on speed and timing. But when he lost that, he should have changed his plan completely.
Absolutely, yeah.
But again, we have hindsight to look back on.
Exactly.
But again, I still don't understand how you could honestly. He could be sitting up there at Chatham Manor up there, you know, in Falmouth, looking down, trying to assume that that he basically you know what, he stuck to the plan, but then he went away from his plan.
Yeah.
When he realized one division wasn't going to be enough, he's like, well, let's do 2, let's do 3. And you look at a guy like Franklin at the beginning of the war. He wanted to send everybody in, put everybody on the dance floor, Mary, everyone, right? Free skate any direction, Mary, on Prospect Hill. That's what they wanted to do. But again, he says, John Reynolds, you get to pick one division. He picks the smallest one in Meade.
Yeah, but
which is probably
because he trusts Meade, though. That's the thing. But then
but still, okay.
He doesn't get the backup.
She's got 3 choices. He's got Doubleday, Gibbon, or Meade. Those are his 3 choices, right? And it pretty much goes top to bottom as far as size go. Absolutely. If you're going to go with one division, you pick your biggest one.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Right?
Reynolds did make a mistake there, but Meade comes out of this. I think he's the MVP for the Union Army in this battle.
He does. No, I think we agree with that.
Ryan said Hooker's taking Week's point about Joe Hooker reinforcing it. Sideburns, Burnsides. I wonder what other Civil War inspired words and phrases are still in use today. Skedaddle.
Whistling Dixie.
Red
You know where
tape.
that comes. You know what Whistling Dixie comes from?
Where?
On the plantations, they would basically when the slave people were bringing the food to the table
Yep.
in the plantation, they had them whistle Dixie because this way they knew they weren't eating it.
Oh.
So they don't want the slaves eating their food, so
Oh, I
they'd
didn't
cook
know
the food.
that.
So they had to whistle Dixie while they were delivering the food because this way they knew they weren't eating it. You know, but red tape is one that comes from directly from the Civil War. Obviously, we talked about that. But the Whistling Dixie one, that was always a bad, whatever.
Scallywag is a post-Civil War term.
Scallywags, carpetbagger,
Yep.
right? There's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of those. But, I was at the Boone Plantation in Charleston when I heard that story about the Whistling Dixie. So I assume it's true because that's what they told me, but it always stuck in my head. Who the hell knows?
Jim said episode idea, Smoky Row in Nashville, the Union Army's regulation of the sex trade. We actually are going to be doing some episodes about.
We are doing an episode on sex in the Civil War, Mary.
Yep, we are.
Oof. God, can you imagine that?
So I think we're just about ready to jump off here for the day.
As I think about the meme I'm going to make on that one.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I do my Hassel Howard.
Oh, I'll do your stupid Hasselhour, but yeah, I think it's a good time to jump off. We've been doing this for a while, so good point. Everybody's still jumping on. So anyway, so if you haven't heard the episode yet, please do. It's I thought it was a fun one to do. We had a good time with it.
Good.
Don't forget this Wednesday we are doing the round table at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Be there or be square.
Yep. And if you haven't signed up yet, if you've been at the previous round tables, no need to send us an email. I will be sending out the invite probably tomorrow. But if you have not been at our round tables before, just send us an email, civilwarbreakfastclub@gmail.com, and we will get that invite out to you once you do that.
And so we'll get that out to you. So definitely bring some books. We're going to talk about some books. That'll be a good one. I'm probably just going to sit here and listen to all my Amazon app open. Well, Finch, you're friggin', God, I can't even imagine how it's going to be. That's good.
I don't know. Hey. We got Jim and Allie B though coming on to it as well. So
yeah, that's good. There's some great. But that's good. That'll be a lot of fun because I know that's a good thing. We all read obviously, and there's some good books. And a lot of books like we mentioned before, like someone mentioned about a Burnside book. I don't know of one.
Yeah.
There's been
find out what is out there and what people are reading.
Well, one of them, I think it might have been Jim actually, who mentioned there was a good Peninsula campaign, Overland campaign book, which I've been wanting one of those for a while.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
Me
too. Ryan's another one that has a lot of good book recommendations as well. Jim says get rest and feel better, Mary. Thanks, Jim.
Oh God, here we go. Jesus. Okay. Maybe she'll be fine. Avoid the light, Mary. Avoid the light.
God, not like you after your fucking bee sting. Holy fuck.
I almost died. Making light of that. My bee ridge attack, my Robert E. B.
Robert E. B. That was hilarious.
Mm.
And Lori says, thank you, Lori. And bye everyone. See you all Wednesday. Yep. See you Wednesday. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, but thanks for jumping on. So we had to appreciate that. Army Navy today. Go Army.
Yep.
Definitely go Black Knights. So we'll have fun with that. And so Mary, we will look forward to talking to you soon. So we will prepare for our Christmas Lafayette Santa Claus spectacular. We'll have a lot of fun with that. So definitely check that out. We'll lighten things up a little bit after Franklin or Fredericksburg.
God, yeah.
But we'll have
get
fun
back
with that.
into the March to the Sea and Stones River and
a lot of action-packed stuff coming down the horizon.
Absolutely.
Queen of Kincardine. So we'll have fun with that. So again, go Navy. Okay, fine. I don't really care who wins, but I have a hat, so I'm going to go for Army. So that's the way it is. So anyway, hey, thanks for signing on again, Mary. Always a pleasure. Go Michigan. If we would have won today. Good point in your shirt there. Good call.
Go
and anybody, jump on the round table. Seriously, email us at the Civil War Breakfast Club at Gmail.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's a great group of people.
And if you don't, that's totally cool too. We'll talk about it. So we will look forward to our next podcast, and we will talk to you all on next Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning as we talk about Christmas. Mary?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. And you guys are what help keep this going. That's for sure. It's a lot of fun. So
Mary with her red nose right now. She's already in her Christmas spirit.
Oh,
so Definitely. Anyway, Mary, we'll look forward to talking to you soon. So everyone, thanks for jumping on, and we will catch up with you on the other side.
Okay. See you guys later.
Peace out.
Bye.